सही क्या बेटा? इसने घटा करके क्या संख्या आई है?
4887।
वेरी गुड, बहुत अच्छा। वेरी गुड। एक लिखो स्कूल और एक बच्चा लिखो जगतपुर। क्या बात है। घड़ी में टाइम बनाना आ गया बेटा? घड़ी में टाइम देख के बता दोगे? अब 5:45 बनाओ। क्या बात, क्या बात, बहुत अच्छे। 10:05। सही बनाया बेटा इसने? सही बनाया, शाबाश। चलो सामान खरीदो दुकान से।
10 के बेटी बम, 10 के आलू बम, 5 काट दे दो।
कितने हुए?
25, 125 दी।
ठीक है। चलो बेटा इनसे कोई आकृति बनवाओ।
आयताकार।
क्या बात।
The workload of teacher has reduced, and then copy correction work is also like somehow reduced because they are checking each other's work. For me, I will say the role of teacher has changed drastically in ALfA classroom.
Children work here in pairs. So, they used to go home and they used to work with their parents as pairs. So with this, I think parents have also been a part of ALfA.
What makes me most happy is that my daughter reads newspaper daily. I have seen children coming home and demanding their parents for toys, gadgets, and different expensive items. But to my surprise, my daughter insisted me, Papa, please buy English newspaper. You can say this for how many kids these days? It's very rare.
All the things that are being done in ALfA modules, they are eco-friendly as well as cost-free.
In ALfA, I've never been required to buy any material from outside. My child's learning resources are made with waste items which are lying at home. She uses chickpeas, grams, newspaper, and sticks to make her resources.
हमें ऐसे प्रयासों की जरूरत है जो फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी को न केवल प्री पैंडेमिक की स्थिति में बल्कि उससे कहीं ऊपर हमें पहुंचा सके। इस दिशा में मैं सुनीता गांधी जी को उनके कंसेप्ट और प्रोग्राम
हमें पता नहीं लगा कि कब पढ़ाई होगा। बहुत अच्छी पढ़ाई हुई है और खेल हुआ है। इस किताब को पढ़े और जल्दी आगे बढ़े।
तो बच्चों, अभी आपने जो गणित की संख्याएं सीखी, जोड़ना सीखा, ये सारी चीजें सीखे, इसको कहते हैं अल्फा टेक्निक। तो क्या आपको अल्फा टेक्निक से गणित को सीखने में मजा आया?
A very warm welcome to everyone present here today. We had a brilliant morning session, barring a few technical difficulties, where we could sometimes not see our presenter. They did not have enough bandwidth, or somebody could not join because of internet and join later. There was somewhat a reshuffling of the program, and we hope the second session goes ever so much more smoothly. But we had some brilliant presenters from the morning session, and we had a great amount of deliberation on the issues at hand, which is basically the foundational literacy and numeracy of children and adults. Worldwide, foundational literacy and numeracy is a huge, massive problem. Starting with children, after the COVID, 70% of them, according to UNICEF, this is not just for developing countries or low and middle income countries, it's about the world. 70% of the world's 10-year-olds cannot read, write, or do basic arithmetic. This is a crying shame. In many countries, this number is 90%. Congo, the Philippines, so many countries where the levels are absolutely even more unacceptable. We can say it is all because of the COVID, but we really cannot. Because even before the COVID, the situation was not as rosy as it needs to be, not as good as it needs to be. According to the estimates of the World Bank, 53% literacy poverty existed in 2015. And instead of going up, it went down by 2018. This is not acceptable. This is after all the efforts that the governments have been putting together for decades. They've been putting their best foot forward, especially after the COVID. But even after 14 months of reopening of schools, maybe we're not seeing that dramatic change as we would have hoped. Why or why not? There has been improvement for sure, but we have not caught up with the levels of literacy that existed prior to the COVID. That means 1 year was not enough to do so. According to the recent most report of ASR, which is Annual Survey of Education in India, education report is called ASR, ASER, Annual Survey of Education Report, 2022, which was released this January. In 2023, it shows that India has gone back to the 2012 levels. Why is it we're not able to tackle the problem of foundation, literacy, and numeracy? This is a subject of introspection by all, including the policymakers. We need to approach the problem of foundational literacy and numeracy like any other emergency. And I hope you'll agree with that, because this kind of illiteracy means the world is at the brink of economic collapse as well. If the children are not educated, then the country is not going to be coming out of its state of impoverishment. We need to work at all levels, from top down to the bottom up. Top down, meaning from the policymakers at the world level, the presidents, the prime ministers. So many things have happened when the leadership of the government decided to change the course of action. So that, of course, is a leadership. We need the visionary leadership. We also need the support or the involvement, much, much greater involvement in being circumspect about what it is we've been able to accomplish, what has worked well, looking at that, but also what has not worked so well, because in there lies a lot more struggle and questioning as to what we have been doing. Can that be vastly different? So the ministers of the education often get busy. Let me say that. I worked at the World Bank for 10 years as an economist, and I used to travel all over the world. I did 38 countries with the World Bank and more countries myself. So together, some 50 countries where I've been able to understand the education systems of these countries, and working with the government is a pleasure because you can make massive level change. It's also a struggle because government apparatus moves slower than, say, the private sector. So, for example, in Uganda, we as World Bank IFC, were looking at a school project that had got funded by the World Bank. And in the time that the foundation was not even laid with the funds that were provided for schools in Kampala in Uganda, in the same time frame, another private school that was started by IFC in Uganda, it was already running. And there were hundreds and hundreds of children coming to that school. So, of course, there are constraints at the public sector level. There's a lot of people, a lot of decision levels. But I feel also, especially I've been engaging with local level governments in some of the countries recently, we feel there's a lot of fear. And I think fear is what we need to remove. Fear of somebody saying something that doesn't work quite right, or fear of what if it goes wrong? Well, actually, nothing ever happens without venturing out of your comfort zones. And though we are circumspect, though we question, but we take baby steps towards what may be necessary at this point in time to take wide, bigger strides so that we can accomplish this very, very quickly. In terms of the kinds of things the policymakers can do, and we'll be deliberating upon that, I have the company of some very, very amazing people here you'll be listening from. Among the things that the policymakers have done, which actually seems to work and is a sure shot way to improve the status quo, is consultations with all stakeholders within the country and beyond. So bringing those stakeholders together from the NGO community, from the teachers, the principals of private schools, government schools, to the key resource persons at the local, regional, and national levels. I think those dialogues and discussions should take place. And with that, sometimes and very often, there's also the bringing in of researchers, professors, people who have done a lot of research and thinking about education. And with that also, some of the times and many of the times, we look at worldwide research. What has evidence shown? Where has something worked or not worked? Up until very recently, UK was working till 2016. They were working with pedagogies that could be considered not supported by research. Not all of them, but some of them. And they completely reversed that after, I'd say, 10 years of working with those policies. For example, differentiated learning with teaching children at the level of the table. So there'd be a table A, table B, and there's the levels, leveling of the children. And all of this did not pan out as well. And it held back, therefore, and they've acknowledged that, the policymakers and the researchers, that it held back the potential improvements that could have seen with the learning of the children. So sometimes this can go on for a very long time, and then you change courses. I think we need to also shorten the time frames it takes for us to revise our thoughts. Time for blueprint approaches is passé, is gone. We cannot today design something and then hold it for 10 years saying it's a 10-year plan. We need to have much, much more frequent introspection, retrospection of the policies and programs that are out there. And we need to have more easily collection of data, more easily collected data, collect data from the field. For this, technology has come up, which is very, very promising. We heard in the earlier session from Mo from Nigeria, whose organization is actually THE, the Education Foundation, is doing tremendous work with assessments at large scale. Similarly, there are examples of organizations that are doing very good research and data collection. That data collection should be more frequent, more instant, so that the policymakers can make quick judgments and take the next corrective action. At the local level, more autonomy, so that corrective action can be taken locally as well. And some kind of mechanism by which the innovative practices that are happening in the government sector, as well as in the NGO sector, are able to make their way to the top. This is not happening as well as it should, as I hope you will agree. And this is an area of reform we can look at. How do we get to know what is excellent and exciting that's going on in our country, and how to bring that to the larger scale. So the challenge is going from just a handful of schools where somebody, or a school where a government teacher or a private school teacher might be experimenting, how does that then get wind in its sails and get implemented at, let's say, a few schools level in a district, government schools, private schools, and then bigger scale still, till it is established that this can work at scale. And then in the process, also fine tuning and improvement that might take place, assisting in that process, because innovation has got to be the watchword. We cannot do things as we have always done with marginal improvements, just minor most improvements to the status quo. And as we looked at the data for 2015 to 2018, there was an actual decline, even after the best efforts. So what kind of an improvement can we see today, given that 14 months into schooling back again, what kind of improvement have we been able to make? If it's not much, I think we need to allow for a lot more other kinds of possibilities that we should look at. We are very fortunate at Devi Sansthan, Dignity Education Vision International. It started with the word dignity, and we started working in the slums of Lucknow and then beyond across India, working with how to give the children and adults education that makes them feel dignified and feel their own dignity. Because education, of course, has many benefits. And the biggest benefit is that you feel a sense of agency about your own actions and about yourself. And you can make decisions that are informed by being able to read and write and do basic arithmetic. The dignity that you feel when you don't have to go ask somebody, can you please read this for me? And feeling so helpless. It's no less than any kind of special need that children have for one reason or the other. And we can easily handle the issue of reading, but then why are we not able to handle it? So there could be issues of policy, but of course that, obviously policymakers are very much at it at the moment. India, for example, in the new education policy 2020, the foundation literacy and numeracy has been given the topmost priority, India's #1 priority, because without this foundation, rest of learning, as the NEP says, is rather redundant. It'll not happen. Foundation literacy, this initiative of the Government of India led to Nipun Mission, which is National Initiative for Reading with Understanding and Numeracy. Reading with understanding. So that is also very important. Sometimes our learners can learn the reading skill, but they don't know what it's saying. But when we are working with the mother tongue, it's almost invariable that they will understand what they're reading. So the emphasis also on learning in the mother tongue, but not stopping children from learning other languages, because children are enormously capable. So we were very fortunate that we got the opportunity very early on. We'd been researching for 8 years, since 2014, the idea of disruptive literacy. So the original question we had posed, is it possible that a person who knows his mother tongue, he can speak, talk everything, knows the environment, can deal with everything verbally, can that person, knowing that he already has certain advantages, can we use that advantage of the known to take him to teach reading, which may be considered the unknown? Unlike the skill to speak, which is a natural, we learn it without anybody teaching it to us, the reading skill must be taught. So the question that we had posed at that time was, is it possible that a person in their mother tongue can learn to read a newspaper within 30 contact days, just 30 days? Now, that seemed like a very utopian idea to start with, and a question that most people will say ridiculous. It's impossible. And some of us don't like to give up, so we kept persisting. Our teachers, our co-workers, we kept persisting. We set up a laboratory in our offices, and we invited people from the slums. We went to the slums as well. We invited them to test and try certain ideas, and we got our eureka moment when our first learner, a video that is already on our YouTube site, you can have a look. This is talking about 2014, when our first learner in January 2014 could read 12 letters in one 5-minute sitting. And that gave us the hope. Quickly, that idea was accelerated. And within no time, by April of that year, we had the Global Dream Literacy Campaign. And we then propagated it in a format in which the school-going children, student volunteers of private schools of Lucknow, Unnao, Barabanki, nearby, 150 schools, 67,000 children embraced the toolkit that year and took it up as a summer campaign for the summer of 2014. In 2015, we did a massive survey of who is illiterate in Lucknow district, which was the biggest survey conducted in the recent past. And that was 2015, already a few years ago. But at that time, and up until now, this is the biggest survey. 1.5 million people of 6 to 60 years of age were surveyed. The teachers of Lucknow public schools, government schools, and of Anganwadi, of the preschools, 3,957 of them went from one house to another. This was perfectly planned by the government of Lucknow, whom we were collaborating with. And as a result, it was possible to collect really good, rich data. And we found out that the problem is far bigger than we had thought. Far, far bigger. We're talking about adult literacy, also children's literacy. So there were 6 to 60-year-olds, 1.5 million respondents. And this has been summarized in a published peer-reviewed journal called Economic and Political Weekly of India. After the data was captured from 3.96 lakh households, that's 396,000 households, it was then put into data tables and analyzed. And after that, a report was written on illiteracy inequalities. And we saw some very startling information. This is genuine data collected by the teachers who went household to household to collect the data. Anyway, to put the long story short, that's when we also began to try it out in community-based models in villages like Karoni, again, in collaboration with the government. We've always worked in collaboration with the government. It has had its dividends. We felt very empowered. We felt that we have learned together with them. And we can therefore more easily join hands with them when we are able to establish through research that this is working or not working. So anyway, that was a community-based model in which 22 women, and this is highly covered by the press and media of India, 22 women of this Karoni village with a population of 5,000 people, including babies and adults, this particular community was able to make 800 women literate by the efforts of 22 village-based volunteer women who were, most of them, not very highly educated themselves, and yet they made 800 women literate. This kind of a model without any expense, just the minor most expense of giving them the toolkits in a box, a mat to sit on for the learners, and some slates and things like that, just basic minimums. But the time and the opportunity was given by these women who were empowered. And when we asked them what made you to continue to do this, they said samman, self-respect, respect from the community, respect, samman in every form. And they were being called teacher, and they were being respected as they walked by the village. So they felt that samman. So I think that we can do a lot with samman. We can do a lot with people's sense of their dignity and their wish to contribute to their country's development. We have not had a movement, but we need to learn from the pages of many countries, including Ernakulam here in India, where in Kerala 30 years ago, there was the people's movement, which made the fortunes of many, many people across the state of Kerala, and district of Ernakulam in particular, become literate. Literally within a year, they went from 74% to 98+% literacy. We believe that one of the themes today is going to be on mass movement and how to use mass movement to ignite and to overnight change the situation of adult literacy, but also that of children who are out of school. Because we saw also in Ernakulam and other countries, we have studied 7 different countries. We've cataloged all this work in a book called Disruptive Literacy, which was published last year by Bloomsbury. And in this, we have taken examples from different continents and countries of the world that have led mass movements and have changed the literacy levels within a year or a period of a few years. And they've used different mechanisms, but they've in particular used a time-bound mission and mass movement. So this also is another thing that I think we can use. There are lots of models. We had a presenter earlier who talked about PPP, private-public partnership. That, of course, is something that has been used on off here and there. People talk about direct benefit transfers in education, not just in other sectors. So those are all things for consideration and definite consideration. But there's one missing ingredient that has not been utilized as much as a question mark. We tend to take our textbook as sacrosanct. We tend to take our textbooks as not much less than sacred text. And we do not want to touch them. We don't want to move them. We don't want to change them. So what the countries sometimes do is to bring in supplementary materials, for example, workbooks, activities, more training, more supervision. All these things are totally necessary, especially when, the teacher absenteeism is something like 1 in 6 days, 15%, or where there are certain other reasons why once they get to school, they're not teaching. There's not the motivation. They're highly qualified. They're more qualified, sometimes the government teachers, than the private school teachers. But the incentives, where are they? So for them to feel the intrinsic motivation that they want to teach and make the great nation. This can all come through when we do a people's movement. All these new things will most definitely happen. There'll be this importance that will be given to education. People are waiting to pitch in for their countries, for their people. Like we saw in Karoni, these women pitched in, and they want a movement. They want to serve their country. Youth are waiting to be empowered. Everybody needs some kind of a vision how they can help their countries. We've seen those things come and go. Many movements have happened, but we need a literacy movement. In terms of the missing ingredient in all this, and in fact, in Ernakulam and in some of the countries, they recreated the teaching learning materials, including in China. They revised their script, writing script, so that more people could learn quickly how to write. And they managed to therefore get bigger gains than if they had consisted and persisted with the old ways of writing, for example. There are many other gallant things. In Cuba, they created an entire program with incentives for those who learned. And they even packed their 10-year-old upwards children to the countryside, saying, you know how to read. The literacy levels were extremely poor at that time in Cuba, and they went from nowhere to 90% plus literacy within a year. All these case studies are in the book. You're welcome to look at them. We have researched them from different sources and put a lot of effort in talking to some of the people we could find who have been part of these movements. So they revised their own curriculum. I think this is a missing ingredient now, because we tend to add on things rather than look at the whole thing together. This is where a lot of people who have been working in the schools could be incentivized. And incentive does not always mean financial, but giving importance, giving it a space in the teacher's timetable where they discuss amongst themselves, they do action research, and they publish their data. And I saw a very good example of that in the Maldives, where I had the privilege to visit just a short few weeks ago. Teachers, principals, even the MOE staff, all of them have done very good, detailed research and come up with their ideas. And the Ministry of Education is allowing them a forum, creating a forum for them to come and share those brilliant ideas. So those that are good will probably get, and today we are very privileged to have Dr. Abdullah Rashid Ahmad here with us, Minister of State for Education, who invited me, and how he can say how this is then being escalated to a larger level and to the country as a whole, because that would be the next most important thing. I'd also like to say that we are very privileged to have Dr. Abdul Salam Al-Jofi, who is the advisor for Arab Bureau of Education for the Gulf states, and he's the former Minister of Education for Yemen. So we'll be hearing from people who have been in the policy trenches and working there in a very engaged way. I find it fascinating to meet people such as these two people here with us in this session, Dr. Abdullah, I've had a lot more interaction with, and I can say that he's an outstanding, researcher, thinker, visionary, highly engaged, very, very concerned, and he has data at his fingertips. He has research by his side. He has the openness to consider many, many new things. He goes, he travels, he speaks at many different forums in many different countries. He's engaged. And I'm sure so is Dr. Abdullah from Yemen, former Minister of Education of Yemen, and many ministers out there. So I would like to now pass on the baton. I will not finish everything, but I will come back to the story of why I feel privileged and what we are doing here in India. We'll share that in a little while. May I now invite Sumita Bhatt, the anchor for the day, to please say a few welcoming words.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for kickstarting the session on International Policymakers Conclave and giving a formal welcome to all our dignitaries. Once again, good afternoon to all. And it gives us immense pleasure and makes us feel extremely delighted to be with you all and welcome you all at the International Policymakers Conclave, conducted to focus on the policies and measures taken and adopted to overcome the challenges that we face today to implement foundational literacy and numeracy. And before we begin, we would like to have the lighting ceremony. And for that, I request team. And before that, I would like to announce and inform everyone that we are highly honored to have with us our chief guest for the day, Defense Minister Shri Rajnath Singh Ji, who is one of the senior most political leader of the country. And he started his political career as a student activist with Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad. During his tenure as education minister in Uttar Pradesh, he took some landmark decisions like introducing the Anti-Copying Act and doing some corrections with the distorted portions of history textbooks. We are highly honored and delighted to have his esteemed presence with us at the conclave to share his views on foundational literacy and numeracy.
May this love spread far for peace and harmony. May the Lord keep this love always burning forever and ever. May this love spread upon the peace and harmony.
We welcome Shri Rajnath Singh Ji to share his views on this occasion, where we are conducting and getting certain views from many other dignitaries across the globe on foundational literacy and numeracy. Over to you, sir, for your views on this.
Friends, greetings to all of you. It is a matter of great pleasure for me to be a part of this Policymakers Conclave on the important topic of disruptive foundational literacy and numeracy. I am certain that all of you will come up with important suggestions and ideas on how to improve FLN outcomes for children and adults in a relatively short period of time. FLN is broadly conceptualized as one's ability to read basic text and solve basic math problems. This is a necessary foundation and an indispensable prerequisite for all future schooling and various life outcomes like health, employment, etc. Friends, when we were young, teachers often focused on the 3 R's. These are reading, writing, and arithmetic. These 3 basics have been the mainstay of our education system since ages. However, as technology has progressed, more and more schools have not been stressing on these basic principles. It is indeed true that education is much beyond the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. However, 3 R's are the bedrocks on which the edifice of all education is built up. I see a close association between the concept of the 3 R's and FLN. If a student can read, write, and have basic mathematical skills, it paves the way for future learning and development. Foundational literacy is one of the most basic human rights. It is also one of the most important elements of socio-economic transformation from individual to social, national and international level. Be it public health or employment opportunity, social equality or civic participation, literacy and numeracy are the most basic requirements in every field. If we want to make our world a better place for our future generations, then foundational literacy and numeracy will be the first and most important step. Friends, human resource is the biggest asset of any nation. The condition and direction of any country, to a great extent, depends on the quality of its human resource. And the condition of human resource depends on what are the education and health levels of the country. To a certain extent, even health outcomes depend on education levels. The United Nations has set a sustainable development goal for the world towards ensuring completely free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education of all children. The UN has set a deadline of 2030 to achieve this goal. We all have a lot of work to do towards achieving this goal, and we have to increase the pace of improvements in educational system. As per various international and national reports, learning levels of children are not exactly at the levels we would like them to be. During COVID, this situation has only worsened due to this terrible epidemic of the century, and it was a compulsion to keep the schools closed. Although the schools were doing their work in online mode, but as you all know, the quality of education which is available in offline mode cannot be delivered to the children exclusively in online mode. And not only India, but the whole world had to face this type of problem. If the pandemic has done the work of disrupting our existing education system, then to overcome it, we need to use disruptive technologies in literacy and numeracy. We have to take foundational literacy not only to the pre-pandemic levels, but also to a much higher standard. With the help of technological advancements like smartphones, tablets, and laptops, we may accelerate the pace of learning in children. However, many questions may arise on this step, including the question of their cost. But here, I would like to quote that if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. That is, if you find education expensive, then try adopting illiteracy for once. It will prove to be more expensive for us than investing in education. We should keep this in mind in such a situation. Discussing the ideas of disruptive learning and promoting them, if found useful, is need of the day. In this direction, I would like to mention the concept and program of accelerating learning for all, or ALfA, which is being run in different parts of the country and the world. I was told that through this program, it is possible to make children and adults reading capable in 45 days and fully FLN capable in just 90 days. I hope that in the coming times, this program becomes more successful and gets a wider reach. Friends, I would also like to share with you that the government is also proactively and diligently working to improve foundational literacy and numeracy outcomes among children. Most of you here would be aware about the visionary approach adopted in our National Education Policy 2020. This policy emphasizes that the highest priority of the education system will be to achieve universal literacy and numeracy in primary schools. To this end, the government has launched a national initiative for proficiency in reading with understanding and numeracy with the acronym of Nipun Bharat, for ensuring that every child in the country necessarily attains foundational literacy and numeracy. The Government of India has also initiated a wide range of programs for achieving the goal of universal elementary education through several interventions. Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan is Government of India's flagship program for school education catering from pre-primary to senior secondary classes. This scheme focuses on the importance of early childhood education and provides systemic intervention in harmony with the existing infrastructure. Along with that, a nationwide sub-program by the name of Padhe Bharat has also been launched to improve comprehensive early reading, writing, and early mathematics program for children in class 1 and 2. Friends, the challenges related to education are not the challenges of any particular class, region, or caste. This is the challenge not only of our country, but of the whole world. Therefore, to solve it, the whole society will have to come forward together. For this, it is necessary to adopt the whole of the world approach in which all parts of the world and society may participate. When the government, civil society, organizations, educational institutes, global development agencies, and the donor agencies would work in unison, we can hope to achieve our cherished goals sooner than later. And today, when policymakers from different parts of the world and other dignitaries from the academia have gathered on a single platform to discuss the universalization of FLN, it is a harbinger of a big change in the future. I believe that all of you will come out with practical, effective, and futuristic ideas while deliberating on this important issue. Without saying anything further, I wish that this conclave achieves all its objectives. I conclude by wishing you success in your future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words of wisdom, for your giving a very comprehensive overview to the problem and the solutions that we are seeking. And you said that the solutions must be disruptive. This happens to be the watchword now because we are dealing with a global emergency and we need to be disruptive. Thank you very much indeed for your presence, your precious time, and for your giving these words of wisdom to us for this Policymakers Conference, where people from, we'll be happy to inform you, people from 50 nations of the world have registered between the massive open online training that took place in over the last 2 days. We've had the massive open online training, and today the Policymakers Conference. Between these two open online events, we have registration of people from 50 different countries, and you'll be happy to know from 27 of the 30 states of India. So we're delighted that they can hear you and your words of wisdom. Thank you so much for being with us. And I'd like to invite the presentation from our guest of honor, from New York. That's Robert Jenkins. He's the Global Director, Education and Adolescent Development for UNICEF. He's the one who said words like, it is not sufficient to bring the children to school. Intensive support must be provided beyond bringing them to school. And they echo so well with what we see going around us. Children are coming to school, they're going to school. Their attendance rates are very high. But as it happens, the learning is very low. So you have to provide intensive support for that lost education. Let's hear from Robert Jenkins. Welcome, sir, to our event.
Hello, my name is Robert Jenkins, and I'm the Global Director of Education and Adolescent Development for UNICEF. And I'm so sorry I couldn't participate in person in the conclave, but I very much appreciate this opportunity to share these very brief thoughts by video, and I look forward to engaging with you all. A few just brief remarks. One is, well, thank you for this opportunity, but also congratulations to all of you for convening and having those important discussions that are planned through the various themes. I can see some very challenging topics are being discussed and deliberated on. And indeed, it's a very challenging time globally for education, recognizing the global learning crisis, recognizing increasing disparities, recognizing the number of overlapping crises we have linked to climate change and conflict and other challenges. It's indeed a very challenging time for the sector, and therefore I congratulate you to convene and to deliberate on how to address this challenge, but also how to have a step change in the education sector to transform and reach children with improved quality and access to education so they can realize their full potential. In UNICEF, we focus on 3 key transitions as a child moves through their learning journey. One is on early childhood education. We recognize that education at the youngest age is the highest investment of public resources in terms of the return on investment, ensuring children are school ready when they enter the school system. Number 2, another key transition is as a child is in school, acquiring foundational literacy and numeracy so that they can be successful in school as they progress. As we all know, that tends to be at 8, 9, 10 years of age. The acquisition of foundational literacy and numeracy is critical. Unfortunately, many school systems around the world are failing very large numbers of children to acquire those foundational skills. And therefore, we see dropouts as they move and the rest of the curriculum kicks in, and indeed children struggle with being successful. So a focus on foundational learning has proven to be critical. A third key transition is as a child progresses into adolescence and youth and is exiting the school system, do children and youth have the full range of skills required for them to be successful in adulthood, meaning foundational learning, but also transferable skills, skills that cut across various occupations, skills like problem solving and creative thinking and interacting with others and respect for diversity and other social emotional well-being, but also digital skills and entrepreneurship skills and other key climate change related skills. So UNICEF focuses on those 3 transitions, and we look forward to engaging with all of you on how to improve our programming and partner with you on enabling children to transition through those transitions. We are also a leader in education emergencies, and we fortunately are seeing increasing numbers of children affected across the world and living in fragile contexts and countries and communities that are affected by climate change, conflict, and other challenges, and needing to respond and enabling children to continue to learn in such challenging circumstances continues to prove challenging, but also a key focus of ours. I do encourage everyone to think about the impact on climate change is having on communities, on countries, on children, but also the role education can play. both within the schools through curriculum changes, through training and supporting of children to acquire skills that enable them to engage in climate change work, both mitigation and adaptation, but also looking at the school as a springboard for children and youth to engage in their communities and their countries more generally on climate change related activities. I also just want to give a particular shout out, if you'd like, because I know teachers is a key focus of the conclave. UNICEF recognizes the central role teachers play in enabling children to realize their full potential in school systems. We do recognize different countries support teachers in at different levels and in different ways. There's a very wide range of levels of support, of remuneration, of tools to enable, learning tools to enable teachers to effectively deliver learning opportunities to children. And we would encourage all to recognize the centrality teachers play in the success of education systems and in the success of each and every child's life as they are learning and acquiring skills. And again, a shout out, if you'd like, and a great appreciation to teachers and what they achieve around the world. So thanks again for this opportunity. I wish you all the best in the conclave, and I look forward to being in touch.
Thank you, Robert Jenkins, for your words of wisdom and experience from across the globe as Global Director of UNICEF Education and Adolescents Development. We all acknowledge, we all understand your words, they echo with us that the need is there to make education for climate change possible. As we move towards COP28, end of November, early December in Dubai, I think this is going to be one of the biggest themes as we understand at COP28, education for climate change. Indeed, education can do a lot more than its share of work in education and climate change. You have talked about supporting the engagement of children in climate change in a variety of ways. You've talked about a school as a springboard for these efforts, as something that needs to adapt itself to address climate change more directly. You've also talked about training. You've talked about curriculum, but in particular, training of the teachers so they can support climate change activities, but not just that, also education innovation and new learning tools. Here, I'd like to report that we have been just testing this idea, as you know from us already, of massive open online training. The idea that training can be effective online is itself a question mark always. But what about massive open online training? So we did a litmus test yesterday and day before. We gave training to 10,000 plus teachers, and more are joining on 14th and 15th because we already got demand from different parts of India, and we are going to escalate this till we have India and the world literate. We'll continue to provide training through Devi Sansthan, and we hope this can happen much, much faster so I can see this in my own lifetime, and you can see this in your own lifetime. So thank you for your address. And I'd like to start with sharing with everybody else a very short video of yesterday and day before training for literacy and numeracy. The training was for 3.5 hours, repeated in 3 different sessions for literacy, and 3.5 hours for numeracy, repeated in 3 different sessions for numeracy. So people from all over the world can, in their own time zones, attend this. This was also very unique for us because 3 time zones cover literally the entire world, from the west to the east. And we did have participation from 50 countries, including today. So this is entirely a unique setup in many other ways. And we were going to, with yesterday and day before, gauge whether is it possible, A, to do online training that is effective, because we are talking about hands-on learning. We're talking about many behavioral changes with the teacher. We're talking about belief system changes. Can we convince them enough? And that too in just 3.5 hours, and also give them the new advanced skills for teaching literacy or numeracy. And I think from the comments we got from the recipients of the training, from Peru, from Norway, and I see here that Inger Mate is here from Norway, and from different parts of the world, from Borderless NGO in Jordan, which is teaching Syrian refugees in Beirut. They have adopted our program in Arabic in Lebanon. And so many places are now opening up as they're getting word. And I think this is not just a way to get our word out there, but to find champions who will, in their own classes and beyond that, through training and through support activities, be able to generate greater possibilities in shorter time. But I'd like to once more acknowledge, and we'll be requesting you to please speak in this order. I acknowledge the presence of Dr. Abdullah Rashid Ahmed, Minister of State for Education, Maldives, Sri Abdul Salam Al Jofi, Minister former of Education, Yemen, Mr. Chukwuka from Nigeria, Yogesh Kumar, Asian, and who has been really engaging with us at the level of adult literacy and hopefully taking this, we have their own time. So shall we just begin with the video on MOOT so you get an idea what happened the last 2 days as one other policy measure, because even Robert Jenkins has talked about the idea of kind of training. You know, if we continue with the past molds, we're going to get similar results, somewhat better, somewhat worse. But what we want is 10x results, 10 times better results. And can we use MOOT as a modality? So you can make your own judgment, though it is 3.5 hours times 7 hours of footage converted into some 5 minutes of video, you'll still get some idea of what we're about to share with you. Thank you. We're very happy to welcome you today to this session on literacy, FLN, Foundation Literacy, which is the very foundation of learning. Maybe I recognize C for cat, I recognize a cat, but it's definitely unknown to the known. When we do phonics, which is the other method, if we divide, one is whole language and the other is phonics. The basic difference being that one is based on the idea that whatever you're saying, you can read. So it's whole language. So read from the beginning what you're going to read anyway or say anyway. If you learn phonetically, that is, if you can break the sound to its component parts, that somehow we are reading a lot better and a lot faster. So this child, can decode and say, okay, I know this picture. This is a picture of a boy. Now, next question we ask is, what is its first sound? That also the child knows, because, and especially if you break it down for him, ba, o, e, boy, right? Boy. So basically he can see, okay, the first sound is ba. And he can tell you that the first sound is ba. Then comes another picture maybe, and let's say that's a picture of an apple. So you ask, what is this? The child says, that's apple. What is the first sound of apple? The child will say, ah, right? And let's say the next picture is a goat, and you ask, what is this? The child says, a goat. And you say, what is the first sound of goat? So the child says, ga. So, okay, now you add the 3 sounds, what do you get? Till now, there's nothing unknown, nothing at all unknown. The child will say, ba, a, ga, and they say, what does it make? Bag. All of this the child can do without being taught the letter A, B, C, D. So we don't even teach A, B, C, D. We go straight to words.
The books, they have lots of good prompts, lots of good activities. So now we're going to do an activity together, series of 7 letters, and you can use these 7 letters to form as many words as you can. How many words you made, and also what was the longest word you could make?
I made 18, but very small ones, mostly 3-letter words.
Okay.
And my biggest was idea,
Okay.
IDEA.
Okay, idea, that's a good one. You got
And rain,
18.
and rain.
Okay, very nice. Good.
I've made 11 and my biggest word is garden.
Oh,
Nobody's in a rush. One thing that you will notice that in the same time that a teacher will make a dictation or ask you to copy some questions or a text from a textbook, or you write on the board, they copy in their notebook, they can do so much more work. Ministry of Education invited us to work in these 2 LPDs, low performing districts of India. That is your Sambalpur in Odisha and here in Shamli, Uttar Pradesh.
Pair learning, what we saw, fosters 21st century skills. The 6 C's that we all talk about: character, citizenship, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Each child learns to speak confidently. Their accuracy consistently improves through the discussion. And They are not being judged here. There is no teacher who's sitting there and judging them. So without any inhibitions, we see.
In a paired classroom, in a sense, even if you've got a lot of students in your class, it's still a 1-to-1 ratio.
We don't focus on marks because everyone get 100%. Basically, whenever learning is joyful, it is a good thing. The fact that every child is touching and doing, that's really critical. Sometimes difficult to do because materials can be expensive. So in ALfA, we're using very simple materials, and children can bring their own materials. They don't even need to have ice cream sticks and matchsticks. They can actually use pebbles, leaves, things they bring from home, spoons, pencils, anything at all. Any counter can be used for tens and ones. Any counter can be used for 100 or 1,000. And kids are so very inventive. And when they understand with this and not on their fingers, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they are understanding for real. That the children are talking to each other. So they are developing that articulation as to what they're doing. And that's really important because it's also clarifying for them what is that activity involving.
On a shoulder, it's 1,000. Over a head, it's 100. One clap. When we clap in front, it is 10. And when we snap, it is 1.
Quite the challenging number. All of you have got it. Fantastic. 5,432. Exactly right.
Bingo.
The fact that you actually were concentrating and trying to figure out what number, Samvida ma'am had made. That is beautiful.
Using these hands-on materials to solve in the way it would be done in an ALfA classroom.
Normally, we do hands-on like we used to do also in the past, but we hardly ever connected the hands-on activity to the written expression. This is going side by side. They can see how the written expression comes out from a hands-on activity. All the training that Shamli teachers have got is for 1 day. All the training that Sambalpur teachers have got for 1 day. Half a day for literacy, half a day for numeracy. So in fact, only 6 hours. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for being such an excellent and such interactive participating group. Thank you very much for being there. So thank you very much for watching that video. And I hope it gives you an insight of how interactive, how hands-on learning it was. Every activity or some of the activities from the toolkits of ALfA were shared. ALfA is being offered for free for non-profit use by people all over the world. It's in 31 Indian languages, and teachers are taking it from different parts of the world immediately. They had to fill a quiz at the end of each of the 3.5-hour sessions. And after that, they got a certificate either of participation if they got 50% above, or of accomplishment if they got 80% above. And so many teachers have been posting their videos to me for both levels of accomplishment. It feels good. And it also feels good for us that so many teachers heard for 3.5 hours, participated in the activities, and ended up taking a quiz very successfully and feeling empowered. We are also forwarding to those who requested. In the quiz, we had an opinion poll as well. We'll share with you the data. And they requested that if they can have access, free access to our resources, which we are providing to them immediately through an app we have developed in the meantime to support the efforts through MOOT, through Massive Open online training, to educators everywhere in the world. I'd like to now very warmly welcome Dr. Abdullah Rashid Ahmed, Minister of State for Education, Maldives. Dr. Rashid is a distinguished educationist with 30 years of experience in the field of education. Dr. Rashid served as a principal of government school for 18 years. He's former vice rector of Avid College and is currently the head of the National Institute of Education. Dr. Rashid was awarded with the title of the Best Principal of the Maldives in 2010. He is also the Global Goodwill Ambassador of International Education Advisory Council. He holds a PhD in Instructional Leadership from Asia East University, Malaysia, and MA in Educational Leadership from University of Nottingham, United Kingdom. As I've already mentioned to you, I am his biggest fan. I find him to be an amazing educator from the heart. He's Minister of Education, but not for his political background, but because of his huge academic accomplishments. And we're delighted to welcome him to share his words of wisdom on the issue at hand at the Policymakers Forum, how through policy we can influence change and bring about FLN more quickly to our countries. Thank you so much, Dr. Rashid. It's your floor now.
Okay, thank you so much for Dr. Sunita for your very kind words of. Okay, I hope you can hear me now. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunita, for your kind words of appreciation. I'm really happy to be in this platform and really appreciate your good work. The MOOT training and Policymakers Conclave and your continuous effort promoting foundational literacy and numeracy in India and everywhere. Thank you so much. As we all know, foundational literacy and numeracy is so important because the students need a tool to learn. If a student is struggling with either literacy or numeracy or both, there is no way any student or students can learn well. In any country, we can find students in all the grades. Some are weak in their studies. When students become weak in studies, normally what we do is, again, we take one more extra class or we give remedial classes rather than addressing the real cause of the weakness in learning or poor performance in education. According to my first-hand experience as a principal, as a teacher, even now as a policymaker, as a Minister of State for Education, some students face difficulty in learning most of the time. I'm not saying all the time, but I'm saying most of the time, it is related the poor performance or poor level of literacy and numeracy in their grade level. Suppose a student studying in grade 8 or grade 9. They may know how to read and write, but if they are not up to the standard of their respective grade, then they can't learn well, study well, write well, understand well. Therefore, putting a good foundational literacy and numeracy, definitely student can succeed very well. As there is the high importance in literacy and numeracy, we really need to do this well. And then another thing is, okay, literacy and numeracy is important and it is there everywhere and countries are doing that. But still, despite of all the efforts, we can see a high rate of students not performing well in studies or illiterate. Why? I think this is a good question that we all need to ask. I can say we all are doing repeatedly same thing in the same way rather than changing our approach to literate. So thank you, Dr. Sunita, coming up with a totally new strategy in teaching literacy and numeracy. Now you all know, we all know ALfA, accelerated learning for all. So she is promising that rather than taking years or months, just within 3 months, students can be literate and they can learn literacy and numeracy. I was able to witness her work in Lucknow. Myself and my wife, we visited Lucknow and visited City International School and some schools of City Montessori School. And we have seen KG students, grade 1 and up to grade 12 students, how they are learning even other subjects through ALfA. And we were surprised to say that this strategy or this pedagogy is really working very well with the students teaching literacy and numeracy. By looking at this, we thought that it is good to send some of our principals and educators, them to get first-hand experience how foundational literacy is practiced in City International School. So last year, we sent 80 people from Maldives. That includes 40 teachers and 40 educators. And they spend a week there in Lucknow, visited City International School, some of City Montessori schools, and also Jingle Bell schools. So they all were really impressed to see how good literacy and numeracy has been practiced. So now in Maldives, we are going to pilot foundational literacy and numeracy in selected schools in collaboration with Dr. Sunita Gandhi, UNICEF Maldives, Ministry of Education and National Institute of Education. After the pilot, we intend to scale up to other schools as well. So once again, before concluding, thank you so much, Dr. Sunita, for your dedication and commitment promoting literacy and numeracy in India and across the world. I wish you all the best, and I want to see that you get support from everyone because you are doing really good work for the betterment of the world. Without eradicating literacy and numeracy, the world will not be a better place. I wish you all a very good day and thank you.
For your insightful presentation and for your vision. You are indeed a person of great vision, and we thank you for being there with us at this Policymakers Conference. Again, a litmus test for how we can carry this work further forward. Most grateful to you, sir. I'd here would like to invite you to please stay for a little longer because we probably have some room for discussion in just a few minutes. And during the course of it, we'll be able to share with you some of the other work that's going on in India and beyond. I'd like to now invite Abdul Salam Al-Jufi, our special guest and guest of honor, who is advisor to the Arab Bureau of Education for the Gulf states. That's, I believe, 7 states. Please clarify and tell us more about yourself too. And he has been the former Minister of Education for Yemen. We most warmly welcome you to this forum and to share your words of wisdom with the world.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Sunita, for such great work. In fact, a long time since we heard this issue to raised internationally. Even it's one of the most important issues, as all of us know that education is not a purpose for itself. It's a purpose for human being, for live, for sharing, for peace, for development, for being together. In fact, I have to admit that without collective work, nothing will happen. We have unlimited aims, but we have very limited resources. So how we can use that very limited resources to fulfill as much as we can from our unlimited aims. And this is one of the points. For me, I think education. I go last week through the PISA result and the TIMSS as well as PIRS. I found out that there is a link between the results, and there is a correlation between the results of PIRS and the results of PISA. Those students who have difficulties in reading and writing didn't perform well in TIMSS and didn't perform well in PISA. So it's connected each other. We can talk about quality of education. We can talk about the climate. We can talk about economy. We can work either internationally or even with their family. The economic of family. In Yemen, we found out there is a correlation, a high correlation between the economic of family and the girls' education. And this is related as well for reading. When we talk about education, we are talking about quality of education. We are talking about good reading and writing. We are talking about how, I mean, who is going to, I mean, appreciate the drop of water if it was the educated girl? Who's going to control the budget of the family if it's not the educated girl? So, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, I think when we talk about reading and writing, we are talking about the limit aims of education. I mean, this is one of the problems we are facing in not only in the poor countries, but also, I mean, maybe internationally wise. I mean, PISA results, TIMSS results, TIMSS results, PISA, all, I mean, all the international assessment is seeing that, I mean, then we have a problem in reading and writing. So what you are doing really is you are tackling the core of business of education. We tried, I mean, in Yemen, I mean, in the past, to doing what we call it, I mean, reading abroad. In fact, we believe that, I mean, peer learning is really very, very important. We believe that, I mean, supporting, supporting, I mean, the rural areas, supporting, I mean, the families. I mean, I'm looking to the issue, not from the, I mean, academic work, I mean, for the reading and writing, but also how we can support the approaches, how we can support, I mean, the local community, how we can support, I mean, within the family itself. I think, I mean, we should, I mean, libraries, I mean, in the past, we used to have libraries, I mean, in different places, I mean, encouraging reading and writing. But now, I mean, I mean, after the technology enter, I think we are facing a problem. This issue is start to become complicated. Rather than using technology to improve reading and writing, it seems to me that we are losing some, I mean, some approaches, some good approaches, and we are losing, I mean, some gains which we again from the past. I think, I mean, what we are doing, I mean, these days is really raising the issue. We have to concern about, I mean, the quality of education, especially in the first circle of education. And the first, I mean, from 1 to 3, or even the preschool. Not only that, but also adult education now. It's start to be, I mean, maybe, I mean, 10 years ago, people will start seeing that, I mean, we reach, I mean, a good stage. Now we are going back to the past. We have a problem in the education sector. We have a problem in the adult education. We have real problem in the quality of reading and writing. And we found out, I mean, more than 80% from the students, they can't read even, I mean, several words in age of 10, and it's really a crisis. It's not a crisis for the schools. It's a crisis for community. It's a crisis for the international community. We are talking about now. We are affecting each other. What's going on in India is affecting, I mean, Asia. It's affecting the whole world, either if it's positive or negative. What's going on in Yemen is affecting Saudi Arabia, it's affecting the Gulf states, and what's going on in Iraq is affecting, I mean, all the Arab world. So we are now living in one world without, I mean, increasing the quality of education, without, I mean, showing the importance of educated people. We are going to suffer. Not only we are going to suffer either within the family, or within the small community, or within the country, or within the world. So what I want to conclude in this issue, that we have now several organizations who are working on education, and I'm very pleased to hear the first speaker was with UNICEF. Without harmonization, without this organization who are working in education, harmonizing the world, working together rather than doing piloting. I mean, small workshops here and small workshops there. Then what's the end? We need to build up. We need them in this. I mean, what you are pulling now and what you are doing now, collective work. And now, I mean, I'm very pleased that in that you are now trying to create a kind of work which is internationally wise. I think, I mean, we need to do that. We need them to hold countries. We need them to make sure that something going well in the classroom. In the end, I mean, from my point of view, I think, I mean, working in a strategic way, working collectively is very, very important, but it's essential, and we have to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abdul Salam ji. Absolutely terrific to hear from you the more analytical view of what's going on with our societies at the moment and how we're not able to accomplish the goals for which we stand. And even technology is not helping, it's taking us in the reverse direction. We need to think a lot harder and go away from just piloting to some real results. And I really appreciate the thoughts you presented. Thank you very much indeed. We'll be sharing with everyone a transcript of today's presentations. So this can go on our website and also beyond that through social media to many, many more people. I so gratefully appreciate your presence here today. And please stay on with us till the end of this session. We'll be most grateful. Thank you so much indeed. Now I'd like to share with you some insights from the classroom. What is going on in the classroom? Just to contextualize, the video you're about to see is not made by professionals. It has been capturing of classroom activities daily by the teachers or their students on the mobile of the teacher. And these are from village level schools and some, of course, budget and private schools as well. And you will see that everywhere, these kids are going beyond the goals of foundational literacy and numeracy. It's no longer a pilot, it's full-blown implementation. It went from small 10 school implementation, 20 school implementation in 2 districts of India to now 3,000 schools within 5 months. So this is really a phenomenal growth trajectory, and we're happy to share that with you, and more governments are attaching with us, both internationally and nationally, and we're able to prove that it is possible to make children and adults literate in just 45 days, and we don't need much more time. And that also for just 30 minutes to 45 minutes a day, or 2 periods if it's a school a day. In 45 days, they're becoming literate and numerate. And there's lots of data, including now, as of 3rd of March, a published book by Harvard Graduate School of Education that just came out on Amazon on the 3rd of March that carries chapter 8 and chapter 10. Chapter 10 is on Maldives and ALfA, and chapter 8 is on India's largest or most populous state of Uttar Pradesh and ALfA implementation for FLN. And so this is now documented, it's in print from a third party. We're delighted to share that link with you at some point, but to say that, you know, anything that works attracts a lot of interest, and we are seeing that interest germinating in many, many parts of the world, including, as I mentioned to you, in through NGOs like for the Syrian refugees in Beirut. We have in 31 languages, so people can start right away. We got many, many countries request us over the last few days. Okay, so a video as to what's happening and what is the outcome. You will see these grade 2 children. We've taken just grade 2. These videos were posted on our website, on our WhatsApp groups, and from that we just selected and put them together into a video. So you can see what's coming from the ground and how these kids in 45 days have gone from not just achieving the grade 2 level, but grade 3 level with ease. They finished all their textbooks for the whole year. After finishing the ALfA books for 45 days, they did another 15 days. They finished all the textbooks of all subjects. How is that possible? And then now they're at much higher level than even grade 3. So please see this.
कोरोना से पहले बच्चे पढ़ नहीं पाते थे, उनको काफी दिक्कत का सामना करना पड़ रहा था।
जिस टाइम ये कक्षा 3 में आए थे, बहुत कमजोर बच्चे थे। कुछ बच्चे 2 अक्षर वाले शब्द भी नहीं पढ़ पाते थे, कुछ को वर्णमाला का भी ज्ञान नहीं था।
जून की छुट्टियों में और कोरोना काल में जो भी इन्होंने पढ़ा लिखा था, सब ये भूल चुके थे।
लेकिन अब 2-4 बच्चों को ही छोड़कर जो डेली नहीं आ रहे, सभी बच्चे पढ़ने लगे।
इसके सहयोग से बच्चे पेयर लर्निंग में बहुत बेहतर तरीके से सीख पा रहे हैं। बच्चों का लेवल जो पहले 0 था, मात्र 15 या 20 दिन में बच्चे जो शेष हैं वो भी बहुत अच्छे से सीख पाएंगे।
जो बच्चे किताब नहीं पढ़ पा रहे थे, आज बहुत से बच्चे अखबार पढ़ रहे हैं।
देवी संस्थान के कार्यक्रम जो चलाया जा रहा है, ये FLN प्रशिक्षण वाला, वो काफी सराहनीय है। मैं बेहद खुश हूँ कि हाँ, मेरे बच्चे पढ़ पाते हैं, कक्षा 1, कक्षा 2 सभी बच्चे।
तो रिजल्ट बहुत ही उत्साहजनक और सकारात्मक है। जैसे कि देखने में आया, अटेंडेंस बच्चों की बढ़ी है। पाठ का क्या नाम है? एक दूसरे से प्रश्न पूछोगे?
अपनी रोशनी है क्योंकि सूरज एक तारा है। की ओर से व्हाइट हाउस, रक्षा विभाग, पेंटागन और विदेश मंत्रालय ने अलग अलग बयान जारी कर अपने
चलो बनवाओ संख्या कोई साथी से। शाबाश। चलो बेटा साथी का सवाल बोलो कोई।
7050।
7050। 2163 घटाओ इसको। सही क्या बेटा इसने घटा करके क्या संख्या आई है?
4887।
वेरी गुड, बहुत अच्छा। वेरी गुड। एक लिखो स्कूल और एक बच्चा लिखो जगतपुर। क्या बात है। घड़ी में टाइम बनाना आ गया बेटा? घड़ी में टाइम देख के बता दोगे अब? 5:45 बनाओ। शाबाश शाबाश, बहुत अच्छे। 10:05। सही बनाया बेटा इसने? सही बनाया, शाबाश। चलो सामान खरीदो दुकान से।
10 के बेटी बम, 10 के आलू बम, 5 का दे दो।
कितने हुए?
125।
ठीक है। चलो बेटा इनसे कोई आकृति बनवाओ।
आयताकार।
क्या बात।
The workload of teacher has reduced, and then copy correction work is also like somehow reduced because they are checking each other's work. For me, I will say the role of teacher has changed drastically in ALfA classroom.
Children work here in pairs. So, they used to go home and they used to work with their parents as pairs. So with this, I think parents have also been a part of ALfA.
What makes me most happy is that my daughter reads newspaper daily. I have seen children coming home and demanding their parents for toys, gadgets, and different expensive items. But to my surprise, my daughter insisted me, Papa, please buy English newspaper. You can say this for how many kids these days? It's very rare.
All the things that are being done in ALfA modules, they are eco-friendly as well as cost-free.
In ALfA, I've never been required to buy any material from outside. My child's learning resources are made with waste items which are lying at home. She uses chickpeas, grams, newspaper, and sticks to make her resources.
हमें ऐसे प्रयासों की जरूरत है जो फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी को न केवल प्री पैंडेमिक की स्थिति में बल्कि उससे कहीं ऊपर हमें पहुंचा सके। इस दिशा में मैं सुनीता गांधी जी को उनके कंसेप्ट और प्रोग्राम एक्सेलरेटिंग लर्निंग फॉर ऑल अथवा ALfA के लिए बधाई देना चाहूंगा। जो आप देश के विभिन्न हिस्सों में संचालित कर रही हैं। साथियों, इस प्रोग्राम के माध्यम से लोगों को 90 डेज में लिटरेट बनाया जा सकता है। मैं आशा करता हूं कि आने वाले समय में बड़ी संख्या में लोग इससे जुड़ेंगे और इसे सपोर्ट करने के लिए आगे आएंगे।
India peaks. China is #1 in international B-school application. SP doesn't want poor and youth to get benefit of government schemes. Yogi. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath on Tuesday lambasted. मैं इसको पढ़ के आगे बढ़ना चाहती हूँ, इसलिए क्योंकि इसमें अच्छे अच्छे पाठ है। गणित में तो हमें पता ही नहीं लगा कि कब पढ़ाई होगा, बहुत अच्छी पढ़ाई है और ठीक है। इस किताब को पढ़े और जल्दी आगे बढ़िए।
तो बच्चों, अभी आपने जो बड़ी संख्याएं सीखी, जोड़ना सीखा, ये सारी चीजें सीखे, इसको कहते हैं अल्फा टेक्निक। तो क्या आपको अल्फा टेक्निक से गणित को सीखने में मजा आया?
I hope you all enjoyed that video, seeing these little children far exceed the goals of foundational literacy and numeracy in mere 45 days. And also the joyfulness and the happiness of these classrooms. It doesn't matter how impoverished the classrooms are, the spirit is ever so high. And it's so lovely to see these teachers embracing the change. These mostly were from one school called PS Kaidi, which is in Shamli in Uttar Pradesh, and there these children were being taught by class 2 teacher for that particular school, happens to be Arvind Kumar Balian. We brought him to Lucknow also to share his work. Now these teachers in Shamli and in Sambalpur and now increasingly in other parts of the country are becoming champions of change. They are becoming leaders of change. They are being able to influence other teachers to think in a different way. Their beliefs about them, their beliefs in particular 2 levels of belief. One is about their children's potential, and with that the aspiration of their own for their children's success has grown tremendously. They can see their kids can do far, far better, which they were not able to see earlier. It was such a struggle to get these children to learn with the old methods. And they are same teachers producing 10x results, 20x results. We also see another belief, which is the belief in the new pedagogy. And I think now they are believers for life, and they're not going to be able to go back. It's like when we got used to the mobile phone, we don't want to go back to that landline phone. They're enjoying it. Their own time involvement is less. Their stress level is way less. They don't have so much correction work to take home. In fact, none. They don't have to do planning as much in the past, and they're able to accomplish all this in so much less time with so much joyfulness and a sense of well-being. So that was, I hope, very nice for you to see inside these classrooms. We have loads of videos from private and government schools, which we'll be happy to share with you. These were not made by professionals. So that's why sorry about the noise and the casting of the situation there. I'd like to now invite Mr. Chukwuka Enujekor. He's our special guest and speaker. Chukwuka is founder of Think EdTech, an educational technology organization which helps to enhance technology in education. He is an author and a research scholar in the field of education and technology. He's passionate about redefining education and technology in Africa. He's also the founder of Think Big initiative, where we raise and develop change makers across the globe. After this, I'll be requesting Shri Yogesh Kumar ji to be the presenter next. Thank you, Chukwuka. We are happy to have you here as our next presenter.
Thank you very much, Dr. Senator. I want to confirm if everyone can hear me, please. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
I would like to confirm if everyone can hear me, please.
Chukwuka, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So, very big thanks to Dr. Sunita for this invite. I really appreciate it. So, based on the theme of foundational literacy and the mass collaboration, which is highly effective for an effective educational system globally in the world, irrespective of the country we come from, there is need for us to have mass collaboration so as to strengthen our educational system, so as to strengthen literacy all over the world. The educational system benefits from this mass collaboration in the sense that we have teachers, educators, stakeholders partnering globally, internationally to achieve a one educational system. The mass collaboration represents a global shift in the world whereby teachers globally have every right to solve problems within the world. We have problems all over the world that are beyond one man's ability. But with the essence of mass collaboration, it has been effective enough for us to solve problems like this. Foundational literacy, which has to be a basic atom for children, just as everyone has been saying. For every child, they have to be foundational literacy. In fact, it's so effective that even in the curriculum, foundational literacy is the first one of the essential topics and essential courses or subjects that every child must take. So, foundational literacy, I'm very big thanks to the organization for specializing on this, because without foundational literacy, the child can't grow. Foundational literacy is more like a bedrock to strengthen the foundation of as the child keeps on going, even after the primary section, the secondary section, even to the tertiary section. But I'm just emphasizing on teachers because I feel that there is need for mass collaboration for teachers in order for us to achieve this mass collaboration on strengthening foundational literacy. Now, ICT has proven to be very effective in our times like this, whereby ICT has proven that teachers can collaborate globally, irrespective of where they are. We have internet-based solutions just like this platform Zoom. We have the Google Meet, Microsoft, and the rest. Now, it has so proven to be quite effective that teachers all over can collaborate irrespective of where they are. And it has proven that, researchers have proven that internet-based solutions, ICT, can prove to solve problems that we feel that are beyond one's problem. I am an educational technologist, and as an educational technologist, it is very effective and essential that problems regarding educational solution problems are being provided with solutions. Now, educational technologists, it is essential for them to collaborate. Collaborating in the sense that we provide essential solutions by collaborating with various educational technologies, irrespective of where they are, collaborating with instructional technologies, instructional designers to design solutions and provide solutions to the educational system. The literacy in foundational literacy has so many problems we can check. Now, it's how can we solve these problems that our students, our children will be able to benefit from this? Now, it's not just more like coming to the classroom and taking the students on literacy, and where the student goes back, they are not able to state the objectives of the literacy class that has taken place. There are so many places, especially I can talk of here in Africa. There are so many classes in Africa that takes literacy. Now, when you ask them after the classes on literacy, what were they able to learn? And so most of them are like, they can't remember what they learned. Now, it is effective for us to come together as teachers, to come together as educators, to come together as stakeholders, even the government, NGOs, wherever you are, in order for us to achieve this global education, in order for us to move this and see that literacy is something that can be achieved for us. It is our dream. It's our dream as educators to see that global literacy is something that can be achieved all over. It is our dream to see that literacy is carved off from our educational system. It is our dream to see that nations all over the world are achieving literacy and bringing up literacy. It's not just bringing up literacy has gone just beyond the writings and reading of books. It has gone beyond bringing up effective and productive individuals. That's why I said literacy is a foundational subject for students, even in the nursery, in the primary, as they progress to the secondary, as they progress to the tertiary. Now, teachers, this falls back to teachers because teachers have a crucial role to play in strengthening literacy. Teachers have a crucial role to play in ensuring that students and everyone have achievements in literacy. not just only the teachers, we could go on to international organizations. I'm so glad that to hear from the global director for UNICEF on how we fuse on literacy and students, which it's also the duties of the international agencies, UNICEF, UNESCO, and other international agencies who are combating and fighting for education, global education, who are combating and fighting for literacy to be achieved in every way. So it's something that I urge and spread that teachers, stakeholders, government should play more and focus more on literacy in producing global literacy, producing global individuals that can say, even after our time, our generation, we should be able to found the mountain that yes, global literacy is to stand. We should be able to cross the mountain that our foundational literacy is to stand. And luckily for us, we have the global village, we have the virtual platforms, we have the internet-based solutions, whereby teachers can come together and see that problems like this are being solved, and see that we are achieving many things that are doing. Now, I encourage your students to also focus more on literacy. And very lucky, I'm so glad that curriculum designers, curriculum developers have made literacy, especially here in Africa. And I'm sure that if Africa are doing something like this and making sure literacy is essential for students, I'm so glad, and I'm sure that India will be doing the same thing. I'm so glad that Asia will be doing the same thing. I'm so glad that the North America and other continents of the world will be doing the same thing likewise, because we're achieving a global educational world. Now, it's just like I said, I would encourage that students should keep on the focus. But based on the fact that students are not really on this platform, so I'm going to be so emphasizing on teachers, I will be emphasizing on governments, I will be emphasizing on international agencies. We should embrace mass collaboration. We should be able to look up to people, look up to other teachers, irrespective of their, look up to teachers in the nursery section, look up to teachers in the secondary section, look at the teachers in the higher education sectors, and see how we can collaborate, how we can come together to achieve a global literacy, how we can come together to call out illiteracy in our world, how we can come together to ensure that our students, our children, our words are being achieved by the educational system, and how we can see that mass collaboration is working effectively to ensure that we all achieve a one education, a global education. It's so nice to be in organizations, Dr. Sunil and team organizing something like this, because I am just sure that our agenda achieving global literacy can be achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, teachers, NGOs, organizations, ministers of education here present, honorable commissioners, and respected distinguished individuals here, thank you for listening, and I hope that we embrace mass collaboration in order to strengthen literacy in our educational system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chukwuka. Thank you for that perspective from your country and your work in your part of the world, in Africa. And I think this is something that has global application, global implication. We thank you for being here. Moving on with the program, and for your words of wisdom, of course. Moving on from this, we'd like to invite Shri Yogesh Kumar as a discussant and a guest of honor. He's the operations head for programs at HCL Foundation. And you all know HCL doesn't need introduction. HCL Foundation, and he's the program's operations head. Thank you so much indeed, Yogesh Kumarji, for joining.
So thank you, Dr. Sunita Gandhi, and thank you, Team Devi Sansthan. I am really overwhelmed to be part of this unique initiative by Devi Foundation and hear my fellow speaker colleagues' discussions. I had been hearing them since this started at 2 o'clock, and it is really great to be part of this whole discussion. I take this opportunity to appreciate and congratulate Devi Sansthan team for the colossal efforts to make this word FLN capable. ALfA, or Accelerating Learning for All, of course, has potential to turn around FLN levels within short span of implementation. Some of my team members attended this massive open online training that is MOOT on accelerating foundational literacy and numeracy and found it really useful. larger team of volunteers plans to attend these MOOT sessions in Hindi, as these are scheduled for the coming days. So in this context, I will like to share my views in light of experiences from HCL Samudaya. Samudaya is a flagship program of HCL Foundation, which is an outcome of HCL CSR commitment. Launched in 2015, Project Samudaya intends to develop sustainable, scalable, and replicable model, a source code for economic and social development of rural areas in partnership with government, central government, state government, and of course, local self-government, that is PRIs and ULBs, along with NGOs, knowledge institutions, and allied partners. We do this through optimal interventions across agriculture, health, infrastructure, livelihood, water and sanitation, and education. The program is designed to help local people identify their problems, co-create solutions, and then implement the same on their own with professional support from Team Samudaya, thereby lending dimension of sustainability and ownership to the whole vision of development. Currently, this program is implemented in 11 blocks of Hardoi districts, covering about 524 Gram Panchayats. HCL Samudaya is thus impacting more than 2.1 million people. Overall, holistic rural development framework of Project Samudaya ensures appropriate rural ecosystem to support education and learning initiatives in these 524 Gram Panchayats in which we are working. Here, Happy School and Sakshar Samudaya are two key interventions through which we had been able to positively impact learnings of 126,000 children and 130,000 adult learners in Hardoi district of Uttar Pradesh. These numbers are huge, and still I will like to say that still equal number of adult learners to be covered so that we can achieve the landmark of like completely making district literate. So we are working towards that hand in hand with multiple partners, including Devi Sansthan. We were able to introduce various technology-based solutions, including ICT modules for regular classes and assessing learning levels. School teachers in about 1,000 schools were trained to take these up and roll out these interventions in their respective schools. They were helped to understand Nipun Bharat targets and plan for their children in their respective schools. Subject-specific modules based on Nipun Bharat for grade 1, 2, and 3 were designed and hosted with the help of government school teachers on Open Education Resource Portal. And these are uploaded and can be accessed on this portal, OER, which is named as Vikal. Huge team of 2,000 plus community volunteers and grassroots level collaborations with multiple stakeholders, including school teachers, community leaders, frontline functionaries, and government officials helped us to achieve this. So we believe that collaboration and partnership had been HCL Foundation's key differentiator. The organization has proudly been part of numerous partnerships. These partnerships have helped HCL Foundation to grow and achieve the planned results as far as the context in which we are discussing here. HCL Samudaya not only values long-term mutually beneficial partnerships, but also strives hard to nurture these commitments for the overall benefit of learners. We intend to bring the efficiency of private, not-for-profit institutions to study, innovate, and customize solutions that would run inside the public sector framework. We shaped multiple interventions in close collaboration with multiple partner development agencies, and in partnership with Government of UP, Panchayati Raj institutions, and urban local bodies within this district, Hardoi. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, that we collaborated with Devi Sansthan also and have used the learning materials about which we have been listening since morning. And we really found this useful when this was used by our community volunteers for adult learners. And this is equally true that in context of today's discussion, when ultimate goal is such big, we need to collaborate and draw synergies towards the mass movement. Thus, collaborating with individuals, organizations, volunteer-based with different perspective, expertise, and resources is important. The present initiative by Devi Sansthan can be linked with existing portals to enhance its reach and transform a picture to attain the desired level of FLN. And of course, Vikalp, the Open Education Resource Portal for Education, can be one. With these extensive consultations and inputs, the strategy reflecting on ground realities and collective consensus on addressing the challenges and achieving the goal of FLN, the attempt is to present the set of ideas that can provide the basis for constructive public, private, and personal partnerships and promote a very coordinated cooperation. I would like to conclude appealing that let us consider this event as the beginning, and we need to continue establishing sustained communication channels through conclaves, newsletters, social media campaigns, and keeping coalition and engaged informed. So thank you so much. Thanks again, team Devi Sansthan, and thank you so much, Dr. Sunita Gandhi. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Yogeshji, and so awesome to have you here with us and to be addressing our Policymakers Forum. And you are yourself a great leader, a great visionary, and you're also someone who makes things happen. So very delighted that we can be collaborating with you and with HCL Foundation on adult literacy in India.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed for your words of wisdom. And thank you for those collaborative stance in your presentation. I'd now like to present a couple of small videos before we move on to Inger Mate from Norway.
Welcome to the ALfA English Literacy Program, which teaches the foundation of reading and writing in a swift and enjoyable manner. Learning English can feel daunting because it is not phonetic and has funny spelling, but the ALfA books are there to guide your children on the journey. Book 1 introduces the most common sound of each letter, and students practice reading single-syllable words and simple sentences. The first page gives useful instructions for how to use this methodology of paired learning, in which children ask each other questions to build from their existing knowledge. It also reminds you to avoid some common mistakes, such as using rote learning or teaching the whole class at once. The first lesson introduces 6 letters. In step 1, we check whether students are familiar with what each of these pictures are called in English. If English isn't their mother tongue, they may be unfamiliar with some, in which case we can use a variety of games to introduce them. For instance, use the flashcards provided or invite children to make their own and play matching games. In step 2, the students ask each other questions to go from picture to sound to word. First, they point to the picture, asking, "What is this?" Then they ask, "What is its first sound?" After repeating for the other picture letter combinations, they then ask, "What do these sounds join together to make?" and follow up by asking the meaning of the word. Students then swap roles for the next word, taking turns to ask and answer questions. Remember to focus on the sound of the letter, not its name. That is, we say ka, a, t, not C-A-T. In step 3, students use the same letters introduced above to form new words. Here, abstraction takes place as students blend the sounds in new combinations. If they forget how to decode a letter, they can refer above to step 2. The mentor notes below are a reminder of the whole process. You will need to keep reminding your students to take turns and ask each other questions. The mentor notes also provide extra video resources. Each lesson has the same structure, introducing 4 to 6 letters to cover the whole alphabet in just 5 lessons. The lessons gradually build up the number of words in step 3 to increase the level of practice. The next 3 pages give phonetic practice of the different vowel sounds, a, e, I, o, e. The alphabet is presented here well into the book. It's here just for revision. We don't teach the alphabet at the start because it's more interesting for children to learn to make words from the outset. The next few pages have practice sentences. Here, sight words with non-phonetic pronunciations begin to be introduced. For instance, the letter A normally makes an A sound, as in apple, but it can also make an sound, as in umbrella. We use color coding initially to show the different vowel sound. Similarly, the letter S can make a Z sound in words like is and was. The next 2 pages help children construct their own simple sentences with a given structure. They can generate many more sentences by simply replacing the last word of the sentence. Another page facilitates vocabulary building as children ask each other questions like, "What is that?" while pointing to different objects and pictures. Book 1 concludes by providing more reading practice with a poem for each of the different vowel sounds, followed by simple comprehension questions. Book 2 teaches longer words which aren't necessarily phonetic, and it builds vocabulary, fluency, and confidence. It starts by introducing some common consonant combinations like SH, CH, and TH. It also demonstrates the silent E rules. We go on to many passages which each practice a particular vowel sound, like A as in rain and ok as in talk, and so on. Then there are some pages to thematically build vocabulary: vegetables, fruits, household objects, places, transport, and verbs. Again, prompts at the bottom encourage children to ask each other questions like, "What is your favorite fruit?" and "Can you catch the ball?" We go on to short passages which foster values such as love of learning, equality, friendship, and cleanliness. The passages also have comprehension questions. Learners can make their own questions to ask each other. Further pages are there to help children introduce themselves and learn manners. Now we build more vocabulary with an animal theme used to introduce prepositions and adjectives in a fun compare and contrast activity. Then there are role-play passages in which children take turns to read their part of the dialogues between Raju, Sona, and their mother. We move on to a foundational understanding of grammar with sentence-making activities. Children choose one word from each of the columns to construct a noun-verb-noun sentence. Book 2 concludes by teaching the order of pen strokes for writing small and capital letters. So you can see that using these 2 thin booklets with plenty of activities, we can teach foundational English literacy swiftly and enjoyably. The ALfA program teaches numeracy swiftly and easily. Let's take a look inside the structure and flow of the numeracy book. The inside front cover shows a reminder of the key principles of the ALfA approach to numeracy, children working in pairs, using physical objects, and making connections with their everyday life. It also reminds that ALfA numeracy teaches skills that are important for children in any grade of primary school. Each module's name is an I can statement. For instance, I can write numbers 1 to 10. Each module has a pictorial representation of whatever activity the students will do and prompts below explaining it. The teacher can help the children form pairs and read the prompts. Module 3 encourages children to learn and write a family member's mobile number. Module 4 introduces the concept of matchsticks as ones and ice cream sticks as tens, extending counting and writing numbers up to 20. Maths is about more than just numbers and operations. The ALfA numeracy books interweave many different concepts throughout, making strong connections with daily life. We then extend counting up to 100, including showing a number board. The idea of a clap as 10 and a snap as 1 is also introduced. Children become increasingly confident with recognizing and writing 2-digit numbers, as well as representing them using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. The next modules teach single-digit addition and subtraction. Children solve the given problems using matchsticks and also in writing. They then make more questions for each other. We go on to addition and subtraction with 2-digit numbers, again using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. The pictorial representation shows the concept of carrying in addition, that is, exchanging 10 matchsticks for 1 ice cream stick, and also borrowing in subtraction, that is, exchanging 1 ice cream stick for 10 matchsticks. The next page takes it all a step further, introducing hundreds and thousands. We then extend addition and subtraction to 4-digit numbers. The same concepts of carrying and borrowing are used. Children solve the given problems and then make more questions for each other. The next modules teach multiplication as repeated addition. That is, 5 times 4 means adding 5 together 4 times. Children construct the times table themselves and start to remember them. The same concept of repeated addition also works for multiplying 2 by 1-digit numbers, again using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. We teach division by grouping objects. Children represent a number, for instance 48, using ice cream sticks and matchsticks. They then divide it into equal piles, in this case 4 piles. Again, children make more questions for each other. ALfA also explains long division for large numbers. Children represent the problem using chits of paper, distribute the number into equal piles, and then take change, for example, exchanging 100 chit for 10 tens chits when needed. We then introduce the calendar. Children ask each other questions about their birthdays and various festivals and holidays. They compare which months have how many days. Children also learn how to tell the time. They can spin the hand of a toy clock and ask each other what time it is. Further modules introduce money. Toy money is provided for children to play shopping games, which further builds confidence with number operations. The next modules focus on measurement. Children have fun using irregular measures like paces and handspan to measure the classroom and objects in it. One page focuses on length. First, centimeters and meters, with children measuring each other as if at a tailor's shop. Then kilometers with a fun geography activity. The next modules introduce volume in liters and milliliters. Children bring bottles, glasses, and containers to do fun activities measuring water. Children also ask each other questions comparing the weights of different items and can even make their own weighing balance. ALfA also introduces fractions using pictorial representations and cutting or coloring pieces of paper. The next page has a number story. More than separate word problems, a number story involves children with multiple questions that build on each other. This story spans the different operations as well as concepts of weight, volume, and time. So you can see that with this simple book and a technique of hands-on paired learning, children can learn numeracy swiftly and easily thanks to ALfA.
Today we will do question and answers, okay? So you have to copy it. Question: what was Tim hitting at the wall? Tim was hitting a ball at the wall. The rat sat on the mat. The cat sat on the mat. So today, children, we will learn the table of 2. You have to learn the table by heart. What is the first sound? What is the second picture? Circle. What is the first sound? What is the third picture? What is the first sound? Which what word will you get when you add the 3 sounds together?
In traditional classroom, children fear marks and exams. In ALfA pedagogy, children are engaged in joyful learning. They are driven by curiosity.
Hello, ma'am. Welcome.
I want to buy few things. Yes, ma'am. I want this book. It is of 100 rupees. And I want this book. It is of 50 rupees. And I want this bag. It is of 5 rupees. 100 plus 50 plus 5 equal to 155 rupees. So bye.
Any thoughts? Maybe take a few views at this point. I'd love to hear from the present speakers here for this afternoon. May I hear from you? What was your view? What was your thought as you were seeing both the video from the village school and video from a private school in Lucknow, City Montessori School? Yogesh ji, Dr. Abdullah, Dr. Abdul, Salam ji, all the wonderful people present here. What would you like to say? A little moment of discussion.
Yes. Can I speak? Are you hearing me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. In fact, I mean, what we heard and what we, in fact, from the presenters and from the videos, in fact, it's very impressive. And we need, I don't know what's the conclusion from, this, how we can, how we can benefit from what's going on and from, this, either from the presenter or from the videos, how we can, lead this work to be in the field, to others, to the countries, to the other regions. I don't know. In fact, I said about, piloting. I didn't want, to be, for this, what we heard to the end is what we heard. No, we want, what happened today is a beginning, for something going on for the something future, for the future. So if we are going to meet next year, what we are going to say? If we are going to meet, after in another conference, we want to build on about what's going on today. In fact, you start a great job. You are tackling a very essential point. What we heard is really very, very good points and very good presenters and very good experience. And what we heard from, from schools, from, the training, from the performance of the students, really very good. How we are going to benefit from that, either in India or outside or Asia or outside or other part of the world? Can we, can we generalize that? How we can we, lead this one to, the UNESCO, for example, one of the meeting of the UNESCO to try to present it to others, to other regions? How we are going to build on? What's the conclusion? Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your endorsing words. And, it is true that this is something that needs to get out there. Children need to feel that love of learning and also feel capable, and they can accomplish so much in so much less time. So what we have begun from that point of view, because we are beginning to get demand for it from different corners of the world and within India, what we have decided to do is this massive open online training. We feel when the teachers are the main deliverers of literacy, when they are the rubber that hits the road, when they are the people who truly matter, and that's where the transactional learning takes place, how about motivating them? How about inspiring them to take this up? So when they do, the governments will listen. And we've seen that happen in one place where the teachers, like this was in Sambalpur in Odisha, and we had certain situations in which, the policymakers at the local level were perhaps not in agreement that any kind of new change should come. And these teachers so loved it that within no time, they made it a reality. So I think when teachers get converted in their mindsets that this is good for them, then they can actually enable larger scale change. And even that small scale change is very powerful because in their own classes, their own children will benefit. So massive open online training, which is an online training, we trialed for the first time yesterday and day before and where we had people from different countries join, we feel is a very good modality to get this out there. So we can provide this on a rolling basis. The governments tell us which day, when, and we can also invite schools, individuals who sign up with us to join on those days. So we can provide massive level, and little experiments can begin at the smaller levels across the country. Great. So this is basically the idea, one idea. The other thing that we have floated is the idea of a 45-day literacy challenge. And basically what that means is that we're asking governments and individual NGOs and others, anybody who wishes, to take free access of our online resources, convert them, print them at your end if need be. But if you have technology like we have here, say a digital screen, then it is entirely free, low carbon, zero carbon, in fact. And even when it is to be printed, like the Borderless NGO, which is in Lebanon, and they're using Arabic, they're teaching Arabic, English, and numeracy with our curriculum, ALfA curriculum. We sent it to them in electronic form. They printed at their end and laminated it. Now they're going to use it for number of students over a period of time, which means it's really nearly zero cost and nearly zero carbon. So that is also in a physical form possible. It's a free gift to the world, so we can make the world literate, from Devi Sansthan and from India to the world. We are looking forward to collaborations at all levels. We've been seeing an increase, like even from other countries like Zimbabwe, Lao PDR, and within India as well. So I'd like to see that we can do these two things. One is massive open online training at the country level, state level, or large scale. And the second is the challenge of implementing this for 45 days, that is 2 periods a day for literacy and numeracy, instead of doing the traditional teaching in those 2 periods just for 45 days, and that's all of the whole year. We're saying do it the ALfA way. And after that, you can measure the results. We're also asking the countries to engage in a research design, third-party evaluations. Right now, we are probably bringing this research design-based 45-day implementation to the Congo. And there are 90% children are illiterate. So when we do it with research design with McKinsey or KPMG or Ernst & Young, or even other third-party evaluators being engaged, they write about it. And if it is truly showing an improvement, this can then go to higher levels. We want every school also to engage with it in a research design. At City Montessori School, we adopted this after it was adopted by the government schools of India, because there's the risk perception, what if, and especially the very best schools are least open to change. Because they feel they've already struck, the best methodology. They must be really good because lines of children waiting for them and all that. So they do not necessarily think that they need to change. So here, after Shamli did ever so well, and we expanded from 20 schools to 3,000 schools, at that time, the principals here, 2 of them decided that they will try it out. And we began, guess when? In November. So November last year, and in 39 days of implementation, we have data from both campuses, but this particular campus shared its results yesterday and day before. In 39 working days, they were able to improve results like in Hindi by 28 percentage points between the control and the treatment group. Two sections did not do ALfA, and 1 section implemented ALfA in this particular campus. In the other campus, out of 9 sections of grade 1 and 9 sections of grade 2, 4 and 4 sections implemented ALfA. For the moment, it's just been implemented here for these 2 classes. In the government schools, we are implementing from grades 1 through 5, and in some cases for kindergarten as well, where we can showcase that 5-year-olds can read newspapers. And we have been able to show that. So, and the kids are capable. Our system is holding back their potential and our old methods of teaching and learning. So there is the whole school way of teaching. That's the one way, which we have used all over the world, whole language approach. And that is not working. It's taking too long to make children reading capable. Then comes the phonics approach, which is a lot better. The results are very conclusive. Phonics is working better than whole language, but we're still holding on to the whole language. Then the third is the ALfA, which is neither this nor that, is something on its own, where we are actually going from known to unknown. Like even in phonics, first the letters are introduced with sounds. So B says ba, C says ka. Neither the child knows C, neither they know ka. There's nothing ka, or there's no ba anywhere that they can recognize with their eyes and with their environment. So what ALfA does is takes phonics, but not in that way. It actually uses phonics only to us means sounds. Otherwise, there's no real phonics in the way the phonics is taught. We start with the knowledge of the child, like as you saw in the videos, that they're beginning directly to words. They're not even being introduced to the letters. That saves a year or more. In some languages, it saves 2 years because we do not teach the letters at all. We go straight to words. And how can the children go straight to words when they don't even know the alphabet? And that's where our research has shown they know known objects. The objects are on the top. For each of those objects, they derive their first sounds, which they can. So it's a known pictures, known sounds, because you can always derive the first sound, so it's a known. Then blending them together is a cognitive activity, so it's also known. So it is using the cognitive mind of the child. 3 pictures, 3 sounds, add the 3 sounds and you get the word. And that's all. Once they learn and understand this part, this is where the teacher comes in at the beginning. After that, the teacher does not need to come in. The children finish more or less the entire book 1 without much help from the teacher. In fact, they don't face the teacher, they face each other. And this is another unique thing in ALfA, as you've seen in all the classes that you saw, that children are working in pairs. Paired learning is doubling up, tripling up learning. Children are having so much more fun. For example, in the same time, the teacher will say, everybody in my class write these 5 words. In the same time, we say, everybody write 5 words, face each other and do your own words. Not even 5, write as many words as you wish. In the same time, the children will have written 10, 20, 15 words. And everyone will have written different set of words. Everyone will have checked each other's work. Everybody would have said, wow, well done. That's really a new word. I just learned a new vocabulary. They look up the dictionary, the next follow-on activities in front of them. So, but how to arrange that? This is where you saw in our ALfA books, very thin booklets. They're not, each child does not get the booklet. It is kept by the school. And we do not have 2 children working together. They're not 2 books. There's only 1 book. That means, say, for example, in numeracy, in mathematics, grade 3 up to grade 3, you do not need any other books except ALfA numeracy book, which is not a grade-wise book. So you don't need a book for KG 1, 2, and 3. That one resource serves for all of the grades. So you can imagine a 32-page booklet, that's all. A 32-page booklet is being shared by 2 children, so that becomes 16-page impact. And if it is shared by another batch of children in a school like Borderless NGO is doing with their 75 children at level 1 of learning, so they're going to be reusing that resource with multiple children. You keep halving and halving and halving till it becomes ridiculously low number of pages by which we are learning to read up to grade 3. So you can imagine for yourself. So I think this is something breakaway in many, many ways. It teaches the 6 C's of collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity, character, and citizenship. All the 6 C's are covered when I'm not facing the teacher. And all the time, every single day, I'm working with a random pair, randomly selected pair that I sit with. I learn to work with different children in my class. If I'm a special needs child, every child in my class has the privilege of working with me. And I feel ever so great. And they learn empathy in the process. And I think this is just an incredible way to educate our children. And they learn by themselves. Teacher's job is reduced. Teacher's stress level is reduced. Children correct each other's work. Children make questions for each other. It is a marvel. So I hope the countries will adopt, whether small scale or larger scale, they will adopt the 45-day challenge. Try it out for 45 days. Collect data before and after for both control group and treatment group of schools. See the improvement, and then with more confidence, expand upon it.
Thank you.
So any other views, please? Sorry, I took a lot of time, but I wanted that to become somehow shared. Please, Yogesh-ji?
Yeah.
Salamji?
So thanks, Dr. Gandhi. What a wonderful day we had. Such valuable insights from very learned and committed guests. Thanks for making this possible and making me part of this. We were able to see children from rural schools and then children from urban schools enhanced participation level in both kind of setups. That seems to bridge the gap that we had been acknowledging, we had been observing from among children from rural areas, among children from less privileged background in government schools. So this whole thing not only will help us in achieving Nipun Bharat the targets and FLN commitments, but at the same time, this also seems to bridge these kind of gaps that should ideally not exist. So this is wonderful initiative in itself. Now coming back to like this MOOT, that is online training program. I look forward that lot of people, lot of community volunteers we are working with, lot of government teachers we are working with. We are present in 1,000 plus schools, working directly with them, have set up smart schools there. So we will try to ensure, at least at our level, that these teachers, they take part of in such online trainings, and the children from these 1,000 schools get benefited out of this. So we will certainly try to collaborate and associate on this, and we'll see how we can take this forward. We can get in touch at later stage and plan out the nitty-gritties that may be required for the purpose. So thanks once again for such a great initiative. We look forward that we will take it long way. Thank you.
Thank you for being there in warm support. Abdul Salamji.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. In fact, I mean myself, I want to concentrate again and again about way forward. I don't know how we can bring the World Bank, USAID, UNICEF, UNESCO, Islamic Bank, Baycare, those who are working in education, especially in the in the rural areas and in the countries in crisis, who are really need such platform to benefit from. I don't know how we can bring these people, and I will urge you to think about having a way of bringing this very active partners together in order to hear about this platform, to hear about them in this initiative, and to make things forward, to generalize it. It's good to have it. And I know people, they can look at it on the internet, but that's not that's not the way. I think those who are supporting supporting education in crisis and supporting educations in rural areas, they need to benefit from what's going on in order to minimize the cost and developing what's going on. Thank you
so much, Abdul Salamji. Dr. Abdullah, Vinay ji, and others who are present here. We'll also invite Joanne to say a few words in a few minutes. Anybody else would like to say?
Okay. Can you hear me? Hello.
Anybody else?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, Dr. Sunita.
The line is breaking up, I think. It's too much noise, unfortunately.
Okay, what about now?
So I think there is a noise on the call right now, and unfortunately,
Inga, just wait a bit, because I think Dr. Abdullah wanted to say a few words.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to make a presentation in a minute. So
yeah.
Dr. Abdullah, and then Chupuka, and then you, right? Okay, thank you. He's here. Is it Dr. Abdullah?
Yes, I think I have a connection problem. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, some may not. I think some connected just now, disconnected also. Nothing more to say. Very happy and really appreciate the good work of Dr. Sunita and her team. And also, I can see a lot of international policymakers, educators who join the hands to promote FLN and implement FLN through ALfA. So I wish you all the best, and in MOOT we are also trying our best to promote FLN through ALfA in collaboration with Dr. Sunita. Thank you.
Jugbuka, please. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah.
Wonderful initiative. It's great work from Dr. Sunita, the researcher. It's something that I hope that globally literacy, the call for action will be taking place very soon. And programs like this will have great reasons for this. And it's very wonderful initiative from Dr. Sunita and the team. I thank you on behalf of Conclave, and thank you very much for bringing up such a great vision towards literacy. And I hope that this will be incorporated globally across the world. And we're so proud to say that we are so strong in our foundational literacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jugbuka. And now we maybe have a presentation by Inger Mate, and I'd like to just briefly share with you about her. Inger, as you've guessed, is based in Norway, and she is one of the greatest proponents of climate change. She's the co-founder of World Climate School.
The line cut a little bit.
Dr. Gandhi, I think you are on mute.
Sunita, you are on mute, unfortunately. So you have.
Dr. Sunita, you are on mute.
So thank you, Sunita. I echo your words. I echo your words of appreciation, and thank you to all the former speakers. Good afternoon from Norway. Good morning to some of you. I'd like to say that I think this is a historical day. Today, this conclave with a massive open online training is historical. For me, it has been a deep learning curve. The 2 former days being part of the training courses. And I think, yes, we can do it. We have to do it. We have to scale up the responsibility of decent, dignified education for all. So if we can have this ALfA methodology, it's an ecosystem of new words. It's an ALfA teacher, it's an ALfA classroom, and actually there's an ALfA book. The ALfA books, only 32 pages. Can you imagine that the cost-efficient strategy that can bring forward for the world? I come here now from as the founder of the World Climate School, but I'm most of all an out-of-box thinker. I come from the fashion industry. So this thing about having an idea of being fashionable and how it can be a mass movement, I think that's our goal as we speak. I remember the first time I wrote my essay, and it was about cotton. And I saw the cotton wheel and the spinning wheel of India. That spinning wheel is the essence of our story. We have to scale up fast and get the wheels moving. And then again, coming from the fashion industry, the sustainable fashion industry, disrupted by the imperative to understand climate change, but also sustainable living and livelihood. So the disrupted linear economy of producing and wasting and making exploiting our livelihood that goes into the circular economy of the lifestyle of circular economy. That kind of disruption is the same disruption that we are seeing in the educational structures and systems. I'm so glad that Dr. Sunita brought up the explanation of disruptive from the mobile old phones to a new mobile phone. This smartphone is disrupting all of lives in many, many ways. So this the COVID structure disrupted me to stop working in the fashion industry. And by some kind of coincidence, I started to host Fridays for Future webinars. And the webinars on climate change. And suddenly, halfway in the COVID, I was the founder of the World Climate School. So it's a new enterprising, a social enterprising, that the idea is ripe. It is ripe. The massive online training programs, MOOT. In my language, MOOT means courage. It comes from the heart. So here we're talking about the wisdom of the heart, the words of wisdom, the words of stepping out of the box and do something different. Yes, we can do it. The 45 to 90 days program as an accelerated program and an educational learning platform for all. I believe we can do it, and I'm sure that this is the kickstart of today. It was early mentioned that the libraries has a crucial role in our communities of learning. Yes, it is. And this brings me back to 20 years back when the Library Alexandria in Egypt opened. And it was scaling up as a bridge and a connection for peace and wisdom and literacy, both literate and the words written in books, but also the wisdom that we have in our oral traditions of the indigenous wisdoms. I like to bring that forward also in this context. But what I like to bring most of all for all of us is actually the Olympic spirit, to bring that goal forward. Accelerated learning for all, an ALfA methodology that we can run with. I'm saying this with a reference to the fact that now the COP15 or COP21 in Paris, as Paris will be hosting next year the Summer Olympic spirits for the planet. That spirit, we have to ignite ourselves, our hearts and our passions to go on that road. That brings me further into the Winter Olympics of 2026, bringing the story of Montessori, of Lucknow, back into Italy and to the strategy that we also have to work on climate aspects of the winter storms, the flooding, the fires, and the emergency for many, many children, and the extremes and the conflicts of dislocations. This is the calling we have to step up to do. So I call for all the libraries of the world to join this campaign. Let us do the handshake. Let's make the signature to bring this spirit forward. I was mentioning that the World Climate School was established in COVID time. So we were invited to be in Glasgow for COP26, and that's where we cross our path to look at the creative aspects of livelihood for our future. How the creative capital of ordinary people has to flourish and thrive again. So COP27 was in Egypt. And at that, the legacy of COP27 in Egypt, for me, is the support of the Climate Education Coalition of youth engaged organizations, and to bring that legacy to the table of COP28. So I think we are kickstarting that avenue or path, or we're running with the gifts that the Devi Sansan is giving and the team of Sunita Gandhi is providing us. Let's run with that stick and bring that Olympic spirit into our schools again. So I'm saying, coming from the World Climate School, and I'm working mostly on the north-south timeline from Norway to Cape North Cape to South Cape. So we're working with the Southern African region, and also, of course, with the Nile initiatives, the ecosystems of the Nile, the ecosystems of the Zambezi, bringing Zimbabwe at the table of climate education and climate literacy, but to most of all, the foundation for literacy and mathematics. We have to bring that back as fast as we can. So that's why I'm saying that the 45 to 90 days kickstart in every school, we can really do that. So with the reference to climate change again, the famous film, Don't Look Up. I'm saying, let us look up. So my kind of visual dream is that I like to, all the streets that the youth that was going to the streets with Greta Thunberg, let them ask them, please help us to go back to school again and accelerate our educational system into a disruptive, dynamic, and an accelerated learning for all. So from the reference then and the kind inspirational presence of Sunita Gandhi and her team, I've been learning to write with my fingers, and I like to present for you the thing about looking up. Because on the planet, we have the opportunity to see the full moon at the same day, more or less, at the same time zone. So when a child looks up and do this with the M-O-O-N, that child knows that millions of other children can do the same. And with saying that, based on the 45 days or 90 days and 32 pages, today I believe that accounts can be organized and understood by children in a ALfA school system. So that is my dream I present to you, and I like you to run with that dream and say that every full moon we do our accounts so we can count and be accountable for the future and our children. That's my prayer. So with that, I say thank you to all of you, and look up to the moon. It was just a full moon yesterday or so. So that's where we see the stars. So let the children be our stars, and let educational system be bright and a thriving future, because we need to get our acts together. So that's my words, Sunita. And I'd like to call all the World Climate Schools partners, and I'd like to share with you and use that opportunity, because the children that and the youth movement in 2-3 years, they are community-based learners. So this is the Climate Education Coalition open letter with more than 100 plus youth-led organizations addressing to the COP in Dubai, saying, let us join forces, basic literacy for all, like accelerate that to the speed that we can do today, and let's do our best. Thank you so much. I will share the link in the chat for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Inger. You bring such fresh perspectives, new insights. You are, an artist, you are a creative person, you are a climate person. And I think we need all those perspectives in education. So thank you ever so much for your wonderful presentation. We hope you can be part of the discussions as we go along.
Absolutely.
Here I'd like to invite Vinay Kumar Tolambia. He's a discussant, personality sculptor, inspirational speaker, master mentor, energy and growth catalyst, track 2 diplomat, and a mechanical engineer. So Vinayji, you're next. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunita Gandhi. And I hope I am visible and audible to all of you.
If yes, you can wave your hand. All right, thank you so much. So thank you for having me on this wonderful forum. And I have been listening to the conversations since 3 days now. And well, I must say that the impact of these conversations, before even I start putting across my opinions and views, the impact of these conversations and the impact of this massive open online training has been such in my life that I already started talking to a lot of trainers, a lot of my associated partners, a lot of teachers as well, that, you know, you should be registering for the upcoming events. And I know that there are upcoming events on 14th and 15th March. And not just this, we have already taken it further by having a lot of brainstorming sessions simultaneously with these conclaves, that how can we inherit the alpha or even make it alpha 2 in our training programs, since we belong from the training fraternity. And that is the kind of impact I was looking for as a youngster. And I will try to replicate or reflect that impact on this forum while putting across my views as one of the youngest panelists now, and probably one of the last speakers for today's conclave. Before even I start, I would request you all to first turn on your video, if at all possible.
By the way, Vinay, sorry, you're not the last speaker of the day. We have Mary McCool-Berry from America joining us in a few minutes. So they're not all inside here, but they're aligned. So please don't feel last or the least. You're
Well,
most
thank you
welcome.
for this update. Now I feel better. Well, thank you all for turning on your video. Those who haven't turned on their video, I would still request you to turn on their video and lift your right hand up. Please lift your right hand up. Thank you. And you just have to do what I say. I hope I am visible. You just have to do what I say. Now make a circle with your first finger and thumb of your right hand and put it on your chin. Put it on your chin. You just have to say you just have to do what I've been saying. You have to put it on your chin. Okay, well, I tricked you all. I said that you all have to do what I say. I said that you have to put it on your chin and not on your cheek. So that is the kind of engagement we can bring with children, and they have a wonderful visualization power. Okay, and ALfA, I would say, is one of those creative or innovative programs which engages children, which rather engages people of all walks of life, people of all ages, because it ensures basically that you are involved as a recipient of that learning and as a facilitator of that learning. And that is why it's a disruptive program. It is not a standardized classroom training program. And that is what has made me think that what the hell I have been doing as a trainer. If I am not really opting such methods, then I mean there is no point of people like me becoming trainers or motivational speakers, right? And this is how you should be engaging with the children. Of course, just like I tricked you, you can trick them as well. Well, talking about the other points, coming back to the conversations between Dr. Gandhi and Tom yesterday, day before yesterday, one thing which for me was definitely a learning takeaway, and I'm sure that you all will agree with me, is that a lot of teachers talk about learning disability. But this ALfA program actually targets both learning disability as well as teaching disability. Have you ever thought that why are teachers failing? This program definitely gives us a sense to think that why are teachers failing in creating an impact? Why are we not even talking about teaching disability as trainers or teachers, where definitely it is a scope for improvement for ourselves? And programs like ALfA will again give us the opportunity to improve this and come out of that teaching disability and then create an impact. And that is what matters to youngsters like me. And this is how I took some points I would also like to share one more important thing. I recently designed a faculty development program for school teachers, and we are soon going to implement those faculty development programs in Northern India. And I would like to ensure Dr. Gandhi on this forum that I am going to take a separate session on what ALfA is and how can we create an impact in the faculty development program. Because this is something which needs to be cascaded at a rigorous level. We need to come together. We need to homogenize things. We have been talking about educational equalities. But once we address educational inequalities, we will also need to address the equity. And equity can only be addressed when we address the inequalities. So equity basically starts with equality. I'm sure you all will agree with me. And again, talking about all these factors, ALfA, when you look at that curriculum, when you look at that book, when you analyze it, when we talk about the learning disabilities, there could be multiple factors. Three of the major factors are skill issues, will issues, and a blend of both. ALfA targets both, or rather all three. ALfA targets the skill issue where people are unskilled to learn. ALfA ensures that people who really want to improve themselves and want to overcome these challenges and overcome the societal challenges and are willing to learn, this is the right program for them. There could be will issue as well, where people are not even willing to learn. Could be XYZ reason. And ALfA is a program which targets will issue as well. And I can explain how. Well, when you involve the learners as the recipients of learning, as well as the facilitators of learning at the same time, it addresses will issue. Because you are engaging with the person in a manner that he or she is not just learning, he or she is also giving that learning to others. And that is how it targets the will issue. And of course, then it targets the blend of both as well. And then the question comes that what are we doing as change makers? But don't you think that before that we comes I? And that is how this overall conclave made me think that what am I doing? I can only reach to we when I will be first targeting myself as my individual contribution. What is my individual contribution? And if I am contributing to the society, then only I can ask somebody else to please come, join me, and let's create an impact. So basically, the point here is we have been talking about a lot of factors. We have been talking about the benefits of this program. But I think for me, I take it as a different learning takeaway that for me, it was a self-introspection thing. I had to self-introspect and I had to remodify my thinking pattern, my content delivery pattern in a manner that how can it be more engaging and more simplified? And that is how we can create an impact. Talking about literacy, well, of course, ALfA is something which is targeting the literacy, that is the ability to write, read, and understand information. And I think 2 days back, Dr. Gandhi mentioned the fact that as per the UNESCO, there are 773 million adults worldwide who lack basic literacy. It's a big number. It's indeed a very big number. We can't just talk and we can't just wait to we can't just wait for a miracle to be happening here, right? We need to take some actions. We really need to take some actions. And just to take some actions, again, to reach that we should be starting with I. And same goes with the numeracy. There are, I think, 1 in 5 adults, Dr. Gandhi, is unable to comprehend the basic numerical patterns and all.
It's more like 70%.
And I'm not sure whether I should be worried about this, whether I should be getting stressed about this. I have no idea about it. But all I can say is that even India has been taking a lot of steps. Dr. Gandhi has been highlighting a lot of steps taken by the state governments of India as well as the Union government of India. And NEP is just one of those examples. There was another initiative taken a few years back when I was a student. I remember NPTEL was there. Dr. Gandhi must be well aware of that. So NPTEL basically was the national program on technology enhanced learning. And that is how technology also plays an important role. And I'm glad that Yogeshji had pitched the factor of technology. And we can only go for the public-private partnership, as the other speakers highlighted in the other slots, when we take some input from technology, when we take some input from the chat GPTs of the world. And of course, then technology, tradition, and talent, when combined together, will definitely give you a better result. And well, I have a lot of points to make, but it seems like I've exceeded the time already. I think before I end this, all I can assure that the mass movement for disruptive FLN can also benefit from partnerships between traditional institutions as well as the technical platforms or the online platforms. This can create a blend of learning models that combine the best of the both worlds. And I think this is where we need to target more, as Dr. Gandhi has been mentioning that she shared the modules with borderless organization, and then they took out the printouts, they laminated it. Of course, technology was in place. We are connected with each other from different parts of the world in different time zones because of technology. But will technology can be the only helping factor? No, not at all. As I said, talent, tradition. So we need to include the traditional institutions. We need to include institutions like the World Climate School. And we can only talk about sustainability and climate change when we are addressing the basic issue of literacy and numeracy, right? So that is what I want to say. And by working together, different stakeholders can definitely create an education system that is more accessible, inclusive, and effective. And most importantly, that unleashes and unlocks the full potential of the learners all across the globe. Well, thank you so much. I'm open to the questions.
Thank you. Growth Catalyst, Vinay Kumar, Columbia. Absolutely delightful to hear from you and your great thoughts and processes. We need those refreshing takes like Inger, yourself, youth. We had one of the trainers yesterday, or the main trainer yesterday and day before, has been Tom Delaney from Australia. He's a youth volunteer with Devi Sansthan. And we want youth to be energized across the globe because they can, why earn a living working for big strategic consulting firms? Like Tom has such capacity, he could be anywhere, but yet he chose to work with our NGO, Devi Sansthan, and to become its master trainer as a volunteer. So we see great potential there, and working with the All Africa Students Union, with Samuel, who spoke earlier today, I think we see great possibilities there as well. We want trainers to come forward like yourself and to take this even further, because we can't go everywhere. And you can take it, like, for example, especially people, for example, South Indians who don't speak English or Hindi, and they don't understand both languages very well. So we train some of their trainers who then train, who take on the massive open online training and train their own teachers in their own languages of their own communities. So we're looking at great potential among the teachers becoming trainers, or trainers acquiring this skill or these skills and becoming the master trainers, as well as youth, especially the youth, coming forward as champions of change.
Well, Dr. Gandhi.
So we'd like now to hear from Mary McCoolberry, a special guest and speaker. Mary McCoolberry is a literacy specialist who worked with children as a public school educator for over 3 decades in the United States. Achieving literacy for all people across the planet is the work of which Mary McCoolberry is now dedicating her time and skill. So we invite her presentation. Thank you, Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary McCoolberry. I am a literacy and dyslexia specialist and advocate in the United States. I have over 3.5 decades of experience teaching people how to read. So what's the big problem? We all know the statistics. Even in the United States, low literacy and illiteracy is a huge problem. We are running out of time. We must start the work now that is so important to our brothers and sisters across the globe. For there will be no peace, there will be no equity, there will be no justice or democracy unless every person learns to read, write, and do maths. This is what drew me to Dr. Sunita Gandhi and Global Dream in the first place. Dr. Sunita Gandhi's dream is brilliant and huge, ambitious and daring. She believes that the literacy and numeracy problems that we have, the process of learning can be accelerated. And as a practitioner, and I'm still practicing today, I agree. What I love about Dr. Sunita's ALfA kits is that she and her team accelerates the process for readers across the world. I know this can be done because I have used ALfA with private students that I teach, and because they are engaged in meaningful work, they are talking with each other, they are discovering, and they are building on what they already know, their background knowledge, which began when they were born. So we know that there are 5 pillars of reading: phonemic awareness, letter sounds, the sound relationship and how we attach it to letters, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, fluency. The decoding part is the first part, while those other pieces are going on in the minds of people as they read and as they've been hearing words since birth. All people must be taught how to read and to do maths. Why? Reading is a human invention. The toolkits, they meet the kids or the learners at their instructional level. I love the games part. I love the conversation part. I love the fact that kids are building, they continue to build on their background knowledge using the toolkits. So what in my experience can be done about it? Well, publishing companies believe that they are selling the magic elixir, the cure that will make everyone literate and numerate if you purchase their products. ALfA, these toolkits aim with purpose to teach people using all different modalities, using paper, pencil, things that students have in their own environment, in their own culture. But they also have an app, which I think is super, super cool, that tracks student data. And I think that once the data starts pouring in from all of the schools that are using the ALfA toolkits for literacy and numeracy, this movement will spread. A movement is people who are engaged and working together. And this is what Sunita Gandhi has started. She is the catalyst for change in all the people who work with her. We all believe in literacy for all. That's why we're here today. That's why we dedicate our time and our lives. So, as an American educator, an international educator, I urge you to consider these toolkits and implementing them across your districts, because I believe that everyone can learn to read, and they can learn to read in a much faster way. And I'm excited to work with Sunita, her team, and most especially children, because children are the future. The future is sitting right before us. The ALfA toolkits will improve literacy and numeracy worldwide. I know, because I'm a teacher, just like you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. That was absolutely delightful hearing you as an expert of literacy and a practitioner of 30 years. Your views matter a lot. Thank you for your endorsement as a pedagogue, as somebody who understands literacy, how you are seeing ALfA. Thank you very much for that. I'd like to request now Dr. Bernardo Javal Quinto. He's an economist from Chile and former candidate for presidency Chile. He's shared a video. We'll be sharing that video with you.
As the founder of the Social Business School, one of our aims is to build what you are achieving is the democratization of education for everybody. Today, everything that is happening is basically because people are ignorant and we are not being able to give education to people massively. So I think that this effort that people like you are doing is very extremely important for the entire humanity, society, for real poor countries. And as they have shown already, MIT, Stanford, Coursera, and with this effort, I think we can change the world and give an education to everybody, which in our social business school, we are trying also to give this type of education in which we can teach people how to survive, because today is not a matter of living. Today is a matter of surviving and trying to make better the world that we are basically destroying because we are not giving the tools, the right tools to the people. So if we do that, we will feel and we will leave a legacy to all the people in the world. And I think it's extremely important that we all agree in something, and once for all, I invite you all to discuss these issues and not be reactive, but proactive, and finally give an opportunity to everybody in the world to get a PhD, to get a bachelor's degree, a diploma, everything online. And in that manner, everybody will be safe and we will be able to do something with their lives and not lose their faith and their dreams to be shortened the way today they do not have any hope in getting somewhere. Thank you very much. My name is Bernardo Javal Quinto. Everybody knows me. I think I've been working in this issue for a long time, and it's exhausting because governments and enterprises, companies, multinationals, they do not understand that the better educated the people is, the better will be the life for everybody. Thank you very much. I hope you have a fantastic gathering and get an agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bernardo, economist from Chile and former candidate president for presidency Chile. So he is well known. When he says everybody knows me, this is correct. Maybe now see a couple of videos, again, go back to the classes, touch base with reality, be inspired, and look at implementation of this. The children have already learned in ALfA in this case, and we've gone back to those classes and taken some videos by professionals. English medium schools, so they speak English, but their backgrounds are Hindi medium in the sense that majority of the children do not come from English speaking backgrounds, but they're speaking flawlessly in English. So please watch. Thank you.
As we start our journey to ALfA Classroom, children will learn by discovering facts which will empower them and boost their self-confidence. Okay, so let's have an energizer. Right. Right hand up. Left hand up. Right hand down. Left hand down. Twist your body. Right hand on your head. Left hand on your head. Okay, now right hand on your mouth.
Giving you the chits, all right? Keeping it here. You'll pick one chit and go back to your places. As we are doing random pairing.
The new norms are working in random pairs to accelerate their learning, asking questions to enhance their critical thinking, and taking turn to instill a sense of character building.
Children, today we are going to learn something new. This is tense. Okay? What is this? Clap is tense and one snap is once. Okay? So, this is 20, 30, yes, and this is, okay. Okay, now Agrim and Abdul, can you come forward? Yes. Can you show how this will be done? Okay, try. Okay, Agrim. Now your turn.
Good.
Well done.
I will look at what I will get the number. Okay. It's your turn. Okay. Two.
Done. Now you will do. Come on, do it with your partners. Go back to your place.
So we have a raised hand. May we invite the person to please share their views. Can we please unmute Harpreet?
Yes. Good evening, ma'am. Hello. Am I audible? Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Ma'am, actually, I had raised my hands when, I can't recall the name of that person. He was asking everyone to raise a hand up and then touch the cheek. So I was just trying to do that activity at that time. Mr. Vinay Kumar was doing that activity. So I did that time raised because, the video was not, video is not visible. So I was just doing that by just showing the reactions.
So
Yeah, Harpreet, can you share about yourself briefly and any other thoughts you have, just very, very quickly, if you don't mind? We'd love to know more about you.
In Delhi, and actually, I have liked each and every aspect of the ALfA, teaching, because the way children are enjoying, and when they are asking the questions with each other, that obviously makes them more articulate and they become more confident. And obviously, when we talk of 100% participation, so this kind of platform, when we provide in the class, every child gets a chance to take a turn. So that's a wonderful concept, provided by ALfA teaching. So actually, I'm very looking forward to apply this in my class, because I teach primary classes. So I'm looking forward to all this, and I'm hoping that, after COVID, when I saw that children are, facing problem with reading and doing, mathematics sums. So I hope that this platform will help children to come at par, which we are expecting. And even, I was really surprised to see class, KG children and 1 children reading the newspaper so fluently. So I'm expecting the same with the children of my school. Thank you.
Truly awesome. Nice to hear that from a teacher attending our Policymakers Conclave. Happy that you're here. Maybe also invite a view from Aarti Kumari Jadeja. I happen to know her. She's Princess of Bhuj, which is in Saurashtra, in Gujarat. So she's from a very small village. She's the princess of that village. And she's the niece of the Rani of Gaikwad, Rani Gaikwad. So Aarti ji, I met her in the palace of Rani Gaikwad in Gujarat many years ago, and she's here with us. Happy to see you here. Would you like to say a few words?
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. It's been a wonderful afternoon, and namaste to all our panelists here. And Sunita ji, it's always a pleasure to listen to you with the wonderful work that you're doing. We have probably associated since the last 20 years, and have seen her progressing and feeling for children. And now she's taken the world on, and we are all with you, Sunita ji. So it's a big, big clap. And MOOT, I've been there with her 2 days. We're having a function in school, but I just drop everything and I'm here. So it's all the way and all of us. And Inger, I would love to work with you with climate change. We are an eco-friendly school doing this work since 20 years too. So it's so wonderful to see Abdul Rashid sir. We met in Delhi, and Sunita ji, you're the center of it all, getting us all together to wake up everybody for the cause of children. So God bless you, and God bless everybody who's here, who's working for the cause of literacy. And we are doing this in a small town in Kutch, and I think there's so many of us all over the world wanting the same thing. So it's definitely going. ALfA is there to stay forever. So all the best. God bless.
Yes, we're all here to stay and do amazing things as you're doing with your children. She runs a Montessori school as well for the this very small town out of her palace. It's very nice to have her with us. And anybody else from the attendee side would like to say something, please just raise your hands. We'll invite you in. I've just invited a person I can see possibly from another country, Nazreen Gurine. Please introduce yourself. If you have anything to say, feel free. We've also invited Shyama. Shyama is the academic coordinator, I believe. She runs the academic part of the Ministry of Education, NIE. She's doing amazing things. We've been collaborating on the Maldives project, converting the toolkit into Divehi, the local language of Maldives, and many other things, including training of her teachers. Shyama, would you like to say a few words, please?
hear me? Hello?
Hello, we can hear
Can you
you.
hear me? Okay. It's nice to meet every one of you in this platform. We are going to start a pilot project in the Maldives for, we are just testing for 10 schools, but actually I have been to Lucknow and I have experienced the ALfA method in the schools, and it was wonderful. And we, our team, like 77 of us went there physically, and we all have been experiencing what was going on in the Lucknow schools of Sunita Gandhi. And it was really an interesting and practicable method that we can apply in our classrooms. And as everybody had mentioned, that literacy and numeracy is one of the major thing that we have faced in the schools. That these recent surveys and studies that we have done in our country also shows that the literacy rate is very low in our country, in our schools. So the Ministry of Education is trying our best to upgrade and to give more knowledge and strength to the schools in to improve literacy and numeracy. So in that way, we are trying to pilot in 10 schools the ALfA method. Actually, Dr. Sunita has given training for almost more than 90% of the teachers from foundation to key stage 1. So most of our teachers will be very familiar with the ALfA method, but we are going to implement first in 10 schools. So I would like to say that everyone from this platform, it's a good opportunity for us to use this method in our schools and to help our students to accelerate in the learning. Thank you.
Voice and to have you with us in this conclave, Policymakers Conclave. It's people like yourselves who are under ministers like Dr. Abdullah, and you're the one who makes change possible with all your patience, love, and care towards everyone in your country. Thank you so much indeed. Yeah. And we'd like to now invite Joanne Telsa Frere to say a few words. She is from Literacy Chicago, and she is the, just a minute, I get the title exactly right. She is the, well, not just speaker and discussant here. She is the Director, Program Development at Literacy Chicago. And she's worked in many fields: education, radio, TV, even brain training. Today she's continues her adventures into the world of literacy. She's passionate about her work as Director of Program Development at Literacy Chicago, where she can pull together all the skills she has learned over the years in order to innovate and create exciting programs for students. Joanne also manages the volunteer tutor program at Literacy Chicago and has a team of over 150 enthusiastic volunteers worldwide working with students, rather. Okay, Joanne will share about her experience of working on literacy in the US. Not a pretty picture.
Hello. We'll wait till the sound goes down so we don't get an echo. I'm so honored to be here. It's unbelievable to be part of this conference. I had the great pleasure of meeting Dr. Sunita almost 2 years ago, thanks to LinkedIn. And when we met, I was astounded and amazed to find somebody on the other side of the planet who had ideas very similar to mine in terms of teaching and education and the importance of reading. At Literacy Chicago, I work with adults, and it's hard to believe that a country is as so-called developed as the United States has so many people who can't read, Americans who can't read, who can speak English, but they can't read it.
English is really two different languages. We don't write what we say. It's, well, you all know that, I don't have to tell you, but we've started experimenting with ALfA for students. And later on, I'll be able to show you a video that we're currently editing. I filmed a 9-minute segment of a man, an American who's in his late 50s, can't read at all. And he was working with a tutor one-on-one. She made up a game with the letters that you can cut out that comes with, there's a little packet of alphabet letters that you can cut out. It took me 15 minutes to train the teacher on how to use ALfA. It's that easy to use. And she immediately made up a game with this guy. Within the 9 minutes that I had done the film, he went from not being able to understand the method to reading some words. So if a guy who's, had troubles his whole life reading and maybe is afraid of reading and of being ashamed of reading can go in 9 minutes from not getting the method to suddenly being able to read some words, I think it's almost a miracle. And this is something that should be worldwide. I agree with everything that people have said here. In addition, what I love about ALfA, not only the material, but the process. I've always trained my volunteers, teachers stand back. Let people think. Let students figure it out for themselves. If you're correcting a paper or something, just say, this is wrong, don't tell them why. Just say something's wrong here and let them think about it for a minute. There's so many ways that you can engage students without having to tell them. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to understand a little Hindi, and if people just tell me and I don't take the time to think myself and repeat and remember, I won't remember. And I think that's the same with everyone. So I don't know if this little video is showable. 1 more minute. So I'll keep talking about Literacy Chicago. Later on, I have a little presentation in the next session. So if you're in a part of the world where you're not sleeping, I'd love for you to join us. It's been life-changing for me to work with people who can't read. Chicago has a population of approximately 2.7 million, and almost a third of the city that's can't read. That's like 882,000. That was the last count before COVID. They can't read beyond 2nd grade. And to me, that's a terrifying thing, because if in a country like the United States, which is so-called developed, can't ensure that people learn to read in school, something's really wrong. And Literacy Chicago is excited to work with Devi we'd like to roll this out in the United States, little by little, state by state, do some experimenting in Chicago so we can prove how well this works. So is the video ready? Yes? No? It's very exciting. The video is 9 minutes, as I said, and we compressed it to just a couple of minutes so you could see. Not going to show you 9 minutes of video. So over on the right is our student. I think there's some sound. Let's hear what they're doing.
Right, perfect. At. I'm going to put them back. Now you're going to pick up the letters that are going to make the word met. 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 Right? Okay, let's sound them out. We've got a from right. That's and met and mug sound the same, right? Yeah. So let's keep that one. We're making the word met. And the next sound we want is the ah. Right, we want that right next to that M, because it goes here. First, and then A. Okay, let's put these guys back. And we want mat. So remember, we've got the car, the bat, the tub, the mug, and the goat. Mat. Perfect. Okay, once you get it, we destroy it. Okay. The next word we're going to need is bag. Good, good. Bag. 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 Good. Let's go over what these are. A car, an apple, a bat, a tub, a mug, and a goat. Now, make that sound. Cab. No, just let's like I'm going to take a cab. What are we going to put to make it say cab? Which one of these do we want? No, it's going to have A in the middle. Right. And which one are we going to put to make it? Cab. Right. And which ones are we going to say to make it say? Bam. 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 These don't words have to make any sense. Bam. 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 Okay. And now that you've done that, I'm going to stop it and say which ones do we need to say tam? Tam. Tam. Right. And which ones do we need to say tag? Tag. Tag. Good. Not tack. Tag. Tag. Good. And which ones do we need to say tack? Tag. Yes. Okay. And which ones do we need to say? I'm trying to think which ones we haven't done. Well, some of them use the same letter twice. I don't know. That's going to be hard. Which ones do we need to say gam? Gam. Gam. Yeah. Gam. Okay. What's that sound? Which picture does that one go with? Do you remember? Good. Gam. It goes with this picture. So what's the first sound? Right. K. Right. So we've got okay. What's that sound? Cam. Okay. Which and if we wanted to say gam, and it goes with this picture. So what's the first sound? What would we put at the end? Right. Good. So we've got yes. Perfect. Cam. Okay. And if we wanted to say gam, not the C sound, but a different sound, good, what would we put at the front? Good.
So you,
Yes.
oh, he got it. He got it. He got it. He got it. But don't you think this is incredibly sad to see somebody at this age struggling so much? This is what we face every single day. I'm excited about this method. So one of the problems with this gentleman is, as you could see, he had health problems. He had his asthma problems. He has, and this has affected his ability to come in for training. So, you know, we're going to keep working. We're not giving up. And we're planning to do some testing of the ALfA numeracy program as well, because a lot of our students have low literacy, low numeracy, bad health, all kinds of issues, life issues that affect them every day, but we're not giving up. And just like that man, we are not giving up, and we're not giving up on him. So I'm excited to, when I go home from Lucknow, to really put this into our curriculum. Thank you, Dr. Sunita.
I found that fascinating, absolutely fascinating, because you see how the mind, the cognitive mind, is kicking in. He doesn't know a single letter, and yet, you know, in just 9 minutes, as I'm told by Joanne, that he was able to make these words. The pictures there as a reference, but he's making real words. He can recognize the sounds. He can connect the sounds. It's his first lesson, and he doesn't know a single letter before this. So this is what we see in the learners all over the world, whether it's be the US, in the slums of Lucknow, or it may be in let's say in Jordan or any other country of the world, because we all have a cognitive mind. And if he can drop on that from known to unknown, he knows car, he knows all the pictures there he knew. He just didn't know there's a sound associated with it. And we don't call them letters, we call them sound symbols associated with it. And we don't even introduce the letter sounds, because that sort of takes it away from the known to the unknown. Known is the sound, and there's a sound symbol for sound. Just like we go into a garden, we say, this is a rose, this is, you know, a sunflower, this is a tulip flower. It sits in my mind. We are coded to think visuals. So those visuals of the letters, they start to sink in. There's abstract letters as sound symbols are much easier to understand. They're just symbols. And you recognize, okay, ka sound is written with something like this. It looks like this, and so forth. So it happens very quickly is what our research showed. And this is where the discovery led to the ALfA program. Among other things, this is one of them. Okay, so we are getting to the close of today's afternoon session. Very delighted, very happy. Afternoon India, of course, it might be different time frames from where you're joining us. This is just the inside of the Zoom room. As you probably know, it is being relayed simultaneously on 8 different channels across the globe. And this includes LinkedIn Live, we are on Twitter Live, we are on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and so many others. So I think people are listening in from different corners of the world, we hope from different places. And this is our first conclave. We hope that by the next conclave, there'll be many, many more takers and many more believers. We need more believers and takers. Thank you so much indeed. And for all of those who stayed here for such a long time, Vinay Kumar wants to say something. He's got his hand up. Anybody else, you can say your parting words or just a few more words. We have another, well, we run out of time altogether, but nevertheless, Vinayji, you can say a couple of words since you've raised your hands. And I'd like to just express before that my gratitude to every single one of the presenters in the morning session and the afternoon session, to the host, Dr. and Mrs. Bharti Gandhi, who were there earlier, to people who spoke in the first session, to people who have spoken in this session. Gratitude to all of you for your time, for your support, for your encouragement of us. You know, we need all the encouragement. It's not been easy because we're doing 3 sessions a day. It starts at 9 a.m. for my whole team. I want to say absolutely amazing. Starts at 9 a.m. in the morning and it ends at 12:30 a.m. in the middle of the night. So it's 3 sessions of 3.5 hours each. That is 10.5 hours actually being on the screen, but between also we are discussing how to package the things and what do we do. And they've been working extremely hard. So gratitude to the hosts, of course, City Montessori School, Lucknow. But in addition to that, all the organizers, the organizing committee of this conclave and the MOOT, that includes Fred Mednick. Professor Mednick was here earlier today in support. It includes Inga Mate from Norway. It includes Joanne, who's here with us. She's actually joined us in Lucknow in support, and we're delighted to have her here with us from Literacy Chicago, who just spoke. We've got Nisa Fatima, who's a student from University of Belgium, and she is a master's level student. We've got Tom Delaney, who's a youth volunteer. As I said, he's become a master trainer for Devi Sansthan for this program, and many other things. We've written that book with his support, as well as Mashood Alam Bhatt. And he was working with me. Now he's studying in the US. And with the support of Jonathan Hakim, I want to thank him too. Jonathan has been a teacher in the US, and he decided to come back to India and to help us. And he was involved in 2014 also, along with some other American volunteers, whom I want to say forever my gratitude, because they went to the trenches, they went to the slums and did some trials and gave us data, which is very necessary, because that tells us where it could be better or improved. And they're still with us, all of them. And it's wonderful to have them. Also want to thank the committee members from all over the world. They're Global Advisory Committee members. That includes our Yogesh Kumarji, who's here today, and many amazing people from across the world. They have been a source of encouragement, quiet support at times, because we don't always get to meet, and at times very active support, some of them been very, very involved. Of course, organizing committee member also includes Samuel from All Africa Students Union, and also Robert Thorne, who is currently, he's a UK principal and currently working as a principal in Vietnam. So this is really quite remarkable, a committee that I've been working with, and thank them all. So here I want to show you the setup here, and all the people who are here helping us day and night. Are R.K. Singh and his team of people on the computers and the systems. We've got also Nishanji, who has been orchestrating all this. He's a teacher of grades 11 and 12, but he has a penchant for technology. In the front, on the side back there, of course, the cameraman, you cannot see, he's taking the camera. There's been 3 shifts of cameramen. And then on this side, the sound person, please show. And then a technical expert also sitting here, Zia. He's been here, Farhan, so many people here. And our social media person, Sammy, on this side, right-hand side. Then I'd say the anchor for the day, though I did not let her anchor too much, but Sumita Bhatt ma'am. She was vice principal of City International School, and now she's working with me on all these projects. And then Neelam, who is over there, who's my assistant, and she's absolutely available to me, tea, coffee, lunch, dinner for everyone. She's been arranging par excellence way. And then, of course, last but not the least, I would say in this room at least, is Yusra Fatima. She is a company secretary, but she also doubles up as EA, and she doubles up as almost everything and anything, data analysis and so forth. Everything she does, she prepares the plans, she communicates with people. She is absolutely, 360-degree support for me. There are people that are not in this room. I'd like to acknowledge Manish Srivastav, who is the head of the technology team on our side, doing a lot of programming and so forth. Garvit Halvasia, who is doing the app, which everyone can get across the world with 31 languages. You can just go there, choose a language, and start using. So that has been designed by Garvit, and he's not here. He's actually working on it as we speak. Manish is also doing work related to our programs. We've got Malita Haldar, who's been doing a lot of the calls and getting people here. We've got a whole team of Mr. Mayank Srivastav and his team of people, Vivek Srivastav, Vivek Singh rather, and other people who are a part of their team. We've got academic team headed by Saurabh Kumar. So when people want academic support, for example, to do a baseline, then Saurabh is involved. And there's an academic team that he heads. There've been people who do a lot of MIS equivalent. I want to absolutely acknowledge Ankur Srivastav, who has been brilliant at doing the MIS analysis. Every day I get updates, how many countries, how many cities, which exactly, what are the people, the frequency, and so on, the whole data. I want to also profusely thank Quizzes, QUIZZ, the organization called Quizzes. They provided for us, for MOOT, large-scale assessment facility. They molded their program for our needs, and I'm eternally grateful to the founder, Deepak Cheetnath, and to his team. I would also say that they have offered to our attendees of MOOT, and I hope this collaboration will continue, they've offered them free access to their platform for 3 months, which is quite a generous offer. And they will probably give discounted rates and such. They have 54 million users across the world. They're so popular. And I learned about them, though they're based in India and in California. I learned about them through John Caripo, who's another very favorite person of ours. He is the founder of, along with other people, of the idea of Edu Protocols, which are fantastic. Please look into them. And he was here in February last year. And he showed us some nice tricks on how to improving the accelerating the learning using technology. So he was the one who introduced me to Deepak of Quizzes. So absolutely wonderful how it's a small world. We are connecting with each other, synergizing, working together. Your encouragement today by being in this seminar, all of this really add up to a big possibility. And I want to thank everyone here with the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you. Join us at 9 o'clock for the last session of the conclave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vinayji, you can say your points. I'm here.
Yeah. Again, on neutral and balanced.
Sorry, I think we kind of lost track in all the enthusiasm of you. Please do share your views. There are some of us here still.
Yeah, so again, on neutral grounds, I would like to thank you for organizing such a wonderful conclave and bringing all the experts from all walks of life all across the globe together on a single forum. And I would also say that the conclave also gave me a nostalgia because other than my youth-to-youth global initiatives and international diplomacy initiatives, my skill donation initiative started with one of your organizations, that is Getty. I do remember that in March 2021, I conducted a session on integrity, and which became a huge hit. And of course, the facilitation in terms of the audience provided to me was all across the globe. And thank you so much for such for organizing these wonderful initiatives. And on behalf of you, I would also like to thank all the speakers and panelists who have joined and who have made this conclave a fruitful conclave indeed, and have given us as youngsters to take a lot of learning points and to implement it in our professional and personal lives. So thank you so much.
You are incredible. Keep up the great work. And you're so positive in your spirit. You're so giving in your thought process. Brilliant. Thank you so much indeed. Okay, goodbye, everyone. See you at 9. Those who have the energy to join us again at 9 o'clock. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yang kehen betul, kita lewas ba, yang kehen sepeda, yang lewas sa, kami lagi lewas bus.
India's new education policy and Nipun Bharat mission have given the highest importance to foundational literacy and numeracy. The classic problem in education has been speed, the speed of learning. Even after 3 years of schooling, most children do not know how to read, write, or do basic numeracy. Without these skills, children lag behind and eventually lose interest. But there is a new disruptive research-based pedagogy that is making a huge difference. ALfA, or Accelerating Learning for All. ALfA has shown it is possible to make children learn foundational skills within months and not years. Oral reading fluency follows from the ability to read in the first place. ALfA pedagogy has been incorporated in the Global Dream Toolkits, an online learning app called Literacy Now. Lessons are broken down into half-page modules. Children work in pairs. The children take turns to ask questions from each other and answer them. The teacher does not teach. Instead, the teacher reads out the prompts which tell the children what their task is. The results from this process-led transformation is that learning explodes. It is also a joyful learning process. Global Dream Toolkits are now available in 15 Indian languages. They can easily be replicated in other languages. ALfA has begun to be implemented in many states and districts of India. We are now working in 2 of the 10 low-performing districts of India as identified by the Ministry of Education. These are Shamli in Uttar Pradesh and Sambalpur in Orissa. The goal is to bring the results in these 2 districts up before the next National Achievement Survey in March 2023. We are taking the challenge up. We have also begun work in Jharkhand and Mizoram, among others. Our target is making the ALfA pedagogy the modus of teaching in the future so that it becomes an integral and systemic part of education by which every child learns.